Chapter 328. Lu Cheng's reply soon attracted a lot of attention. Some agreed, some mocked, and some praised. Not bad, young man. Your attitude is quite sincere. What a weak aura. Are you scared before the fight? Even if you lose, you don't want to lose. You can just say, let's fight. It's better than adding a bunch of words. That's called being rational. You know you can't beat him, but you still pretend to be confident and hot-blooded. You're either stupid or stupid. Do you like people who talk big? How is this aura weak? Polite and restrained. You don't understand the art of speaking. Not willing to admit defeat means I want to win. I want to win, let's fight. Is that how you feel? Tisk tsk, you bunch of brainless fans. Don't help him. You obviously don't have the confidence. You obviously don't believe you can beat Peng Liyun. Oh, you even teamed up with Lin Ke. There were some IDs that Lu Cheng was familiar with. Wonton Seller said, well said. I don't understand them either. Come on, patting shoulder. Eternal Nightfall said, no matter what they say, I'm fired up. Brahman 001 inch said, I'll support you no matter what you say. Unparalleled Dragon King said with a smile, to be honest, your aura is a little weak, but it suits your character. You're not blindly arrogant, and you don't make empty promises. While reading the replies, Lu Cheng was sometimes angry and wanted to post a Weibo rebuttal. At other times, he felt relieved that there were still people who understood him and wanted to give them a like. But in the end, he didn't do anything. He just logged out of Weibo and put down his phone. Maturity didn't mean that one didn't have emotional fluctuations, couldn't be stimulated, and wouldn't be full of desire for certain things. It meant that one knew how to control oneself. When faced with various influences, one could grasp one's thoughts and not be impulsive and blindly vent. Beside him, Xianxia was also reading the comments on Weibo. She was even angrier than him. These people are so hateful. I want to catch them and reason with them. Looking at the girl's puffed-up cheeks, Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. His mood instantly improved. Go ahead. I haven't seen Coach Yen scold anyone. Xianxia glared at him, annoyed and amused at the same time. I scold people all the time, okay? You idiot. That's true. Lu Cheng smiled at the scolding. While flirting with each other, he completely adjusted his state of mind. He no longer thought about the external discussions and turned his attention to the competition on the weekend. On Friday, December 20th at 8:35 p.m., the Songqing University Martial Arts Club arrived at Pingjiang City, Shanbei Province. They had arrived a day earlier so that they could challenge the defending champion in their best condition. The school had booked the same hotel that Lu Cheng and Gizushi had stayed in before. Firstly, it was close by so they could walk directly into Shanbei University without having to take a bus. Secondly, the environment and accommodation were good. There was a private martial arts gym nearby, so they could rent a place for a few hours for special warm-up training. However, the star rating of this hotel was a little different from what Gizushi had boasted. He felt that the principal didn't give him face and insisted that the school change the hotel to a room for one person instead of the usual double bedroom for two people. Of course, the reason he gave was very legitimate and very convincing. So that everyone can sleep well and be in good condition tomorrow. When they arrived at the hotel, Lu Cheng put down his belongings and entered Xianxia's room. He seized the time to watch the video and discuss the opponent, racing against time. This was the strongest opponent he had encountered so far. No matter how well prepared he was, he couldn't be too prepared. Xianxia had missed a lot of homework because of this, so she had to catch up when she got back. At 10:30 p.m., he didn't shamelessly stay in Xianxia's room. After all, they were not the only ones staying in the room. He had to consider the girl's reputation. Xianxia curled up her legs and sat on the bed. She put her arms around his neck and took the initiative to give him a deep kiss. After their lips and tongues parted, she smiled softly and said, "Good night." "Good night." Lu Cheng kissed her forehead again, turned around and walked out of the room with a smile. "Do you think I'm a kid?" Xianxia touched her forehead and fell down. She hugged the quilt and smiled. The next day before dawn, Lu Cheng got up on time at 5:30 a.m. He washed up and changed into his martial arts suit. He opened the door to find a place to do morning exercises. As soon as he walked out, he felt something was wrong. He turned around and saw Xu Rui and her shooting team standing not far away. "Morning." Xu Rui covered her mouth and yawned. Her eyes were still a little misty because she didn't want to leave the warm bed. Lu Cheng was surprised and asked, "Reporter Xu, so early?" The other members of the martial arts club were still sleeping. It was not because they were lazy or not hardworking enough, but because they had special training every day and didn't have Lu Cheng's abnormal physical strength. They had to sleep like this. Besides, they had a fixed schedule. A sudden change on the day of the competition would affect their condition. Xu Rui was wearing a very fashionable light black coat. She smiled and said, "In our line of work, other people think it's glamorous. In fact, it's not that good. It's common to wake up early and sleep late. My skin is much worse than when I was in college. I have to spend half of my money on skincare." After closing the distance by complaining, she said with a smile, "I've heard that you always wake up early at 5:30 a.m. to do morning exercises every day, but I never got a chance to film it. This time I finally got the chance. Don't worry, I won't film your specific training. I'll just film you going out, running and looking for a training ground." Okay. Lu Qing agreed. Xu Rui immediately beamed. She ordered the team to follow and film. In the end, she asked, "Does Lin Ke also do morning exercises?" "Yes." Lu Qing answered without hesitation. This was what Ku had told him. "Oh, what time does he go out?" Xu Rui asked in surprise. "That I don't know. He's always been a loner." Lu Qing spread his hands. Xu Rui clapped her hands. She smiled and said, "There's news. The two leading members of Songqing University Martial Arts Club have a lot of conflicts. Actually, we're relatives. You don't talk like this in front of Lin Ke." Lu Qing complained in his heart. He didn't chat with Xu Rui anymore. He turned around and ran slowly to the elevator. Xu Rui made a gesture and the whole team followed him professionally. After leaving the hotel, Lu Qing went into the light white fog of early winter. After getting his bearings, he ran into Shanbei University. While running, he suddenly remembered something. He subconsciously turned to the stadium. Now today, will he still train there? Following the path in his memory, a path that was almost unfamiliar to him, Lu Qing ran to the vicinity of a large sports field and looked directly at a ginkgo tree. The yellow leaves of the ginkgo tree were falling. The sky was dark and filled with mist. A young man in a white martial arts suit was standing in the middle of the field. He was moving vigorously. He's really here. He didn't relax at all. Lu Qing felt as though he was touched by something back then. Even though it was too far away and he couldn't see clearly, he recognized the young man in the white martial arts suit from watching him day and night. He was the leading member of Shanbei University Martial Arts Club, the direct disciple of Shanqing sect, Peng Leiyun. Lu Qing didn't look at other people's training. It was taboo. Just as he was about to turn around and find another place, Peng Leiyun suddenly stopped, raised his head and looked at him. With a whoosh, Lu Qing felt like there were two flashes of lightning in front of him. They lit up the darkness and dispersed the mist. Of course, this was just his illusion. The lightning wasn't real. It was the two flashes of light in Peng Leiyun's eyes. Even from such a distance, the two flashes of light had such momentum. Suddenly, Lu Qing thought of a symbol of the Thunder sect of Taoism, white in the empty room. This meant that after successful training, one's qi and blood would be full of vitality and his spirit would be so strong that he could see daylight by running his Dan qi in an empty quiet room. Peng Leiyun has reached this level? Has he completed the level below the inhuman stage? Under the polishing of the army formula, Lu Qing's willpower had become tougher and sharper in certain aspects. He didn't panic when he suddenly met the gaze of the empty room, nor did he try to avoid it. He didn't even close his eyes subconsciously. He looked back at Peng Leiyun and nodded with a smile. He didn't hide his burning desire to fight. The light in Peng Leiyun's eyes faded. He nodded from a distance and responded with a smile. Without any other communication, Peng Leiyun started training again. Lu Qing turned around and ran to another secluded place. Last year this season I came here, received my first education, and truly began my own path of martial arts. This year I've returned here and I'm qualified to be a challenger. Did you get it? Xu Rui didn't expect to see such an encounter between Lu Qing and Peng Leiyun in a simple morning training. She was so excited that she couldn't speak. This was material that could only be encountered but not sought. We didn't get that look. We can only edit it according to the front and back. The cameraman was very disappointed. Let's do it. This is the first-hand record of the scene. It's very effective for publicity. Xu Rui clenched her fist. After the morning training, Peng Leiyun ate his breakfast slowly and went to the martial arts club. He saw Su Wanyin, Fang Zhirong and the others warming up. Junior brother Peng, I heard that those from Songqing University arrived last night and are staying in the Osmanthus Garden Hotel. Su Wanyin came over and said excitedly. Peng Leiyun smiled and said, I met Lu Qing this morning. You met him? He's also doing morning training? How was it? How did it feel to see him face to face? Su Wanyin asked. Peng Leiyun smiled and said, Not bad. His eyes began to empty again. At around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Lu Qing and the others entered the martial arts stadium of Shanbei University in their casual clothes. Because it looked like a big bird with open wings, it was also called the Flying Bird Stadium. Although it was still early, there were already many students in the stadium. They didn't insult or shout at the arrival of those from Songqing University. They just applauded and cheered as if they were attending a feast. This was the attitude of a champion. This was absolute confidence. I feel like they don't take us seriously, Kai Zongming said in a low voice as they entered the locker room of the away team. Lu Qing laughed and said, "Don't worry. They don't treat you that way. They don't even look at you. They don't even know who you are." Well, I'm the main substitute anyway. Kai Zongming didn't feel inferior at all. After putting down their luggage and changing into their martial arts suits in the bathroom, Xianxia said with a smile, "Let's decide the order of appearance first so that we don't have to worry about it and feel tired." Then he looked at Xianxia and said, "Xianxia, when do you think Peng Liyun will appear?" The way he addressed Xianxia had always changed. After Lu Qing formally became his disciple, he called her Yen Girl. Xianxia had long been used to this scene. She pursed her lips and said, "I've checked the information. Peng Liyun usually appears last to leave more chances for his teammates to fight. Only a few times did he appear in the middle or as the vanguard. The first was 2 years ago when he fought against Huahai Guangnan and the capital in the national competition. The second was last year when he fought against the capital." Li Mao nodded slowly and said, "That is to say, he won't appear first if he's not a worthy opponent?" Chapter 329. After hearing Li Mao's words, the whole locker room fell into silence, as if they were asking themselves if Songqing University Martial Arts Club was a worthy opponent for Peng Liyun. In such an atmosphere, Xianxia smiled and answered, "No matter what, we are not opponents that he can take lightly. So this time he will definitely not be the last one to come out." "Why?" Sun Jian blurted out. "Isn't this a contradiction? Peng Liyun didn't come out in advance when he fought Huahai and Guangnan last year." Xianxia smiled and glanced at Lu Qing. "Because Cheng's supernatural ability can restrain the Corvine mouth. If Shanbei doesn't want to give us a free match, they will definitely let xuanhuan come out last. In this way, even if he encounters Cheng, it will be Cheng who has fought hard. He will have a chance to win with his own martial arts strength. Besides, no one knows whether his lucky star can still reflect the Corvine mouth when Cheng's condition is low." Without a similar supernatural ability user to help him do the experiment, Lu Qing couldn't figure it out himself. But he vaguely felt that since this supernatural ability was rooted in the Jin Dan, his own condition wouldn't affect the result too much. Hearing Xianxia's explanation, everyone calmed down from their tense state and expressed their agreement one after another. "Xuanhuan will be the last one to come out. Do you think Peng Liyun will be the vanguard directly or let Fang Zhirong test us first to wear us down?" Li Mao asked thoughtfully. Kai Zongming waved his hand. "That's easy. You can figure it out with your toes. Go ahead." Sun Jian, Lin Hua and the others looked at Little Ming with surprise and expectation. Only Lu Qing glanced at him, doubting that he could say anything good. "Peng Liyun will either be the first or the second one to come out," Talker answered seriously. Sun Jian chuckled and gritted his teeth. "You really should be the first to go up. Show off your glib tongue. Look at all of us teammates, we all miss you, Aruba," Sun Jian said in a good mood. Aruba was a game of punishment. It was to lift a boy up, spread his legs and rub his crotch against a pillar. It was both mentally and physically cruel. "I see that you are nervous, so I help you relax. You don't treat me like this," Kai Zongming answered with a smile. When he saw Lu Qing, Sun Jian and Li Mao looking at him with malicious eyes, he stuttered and quickly returned to the topic. "In fact, what I want to say is that whether Peng Liyun is the first or the second, it won't have much effect on our order. Since xuanhuan is the last one, we will definitely be the same as Lin Ke and Lu Qing. After all, if we defeat Fang Zhirong and Peng Liyun, it's definitely better for Qing to deal with xuanhuan than for Lin Ke to deal with him. As for the other contestant, like xuanhuan, he would definitely be placed at the end of the match to avoid giving the other contestant a free match." "That makes sense." Sun Jian pondered for a moment and nodded. "Then it's not you, Aruba?" Beside them, He watched and listened attentively, using her eyes and ears to record the details of the interactions between her senior brothers and sisters. As for Xu Rue, in order to ensure that everyone was in good condition, Xianxia refused her suggestion to come in and record the daily routine before the match. Xianxia had been quietly listening to Li Mao's second question. Now she smiled and said, "That's right." With a smile, she said, "Actually, Qing and I both think that Peng Liyun will be the second contestant." Lin Hua, Li Mao, and the others all looked at her and Lu Qing. Did Peng Liyun pay special attention to him or not? Lu Qing didn't say anything. He just looked at Xianxia with a smile, waiting for her to explain. She pursed her lips and said, "This has nothing to do with Peng Liyun. It's because of Fang Zhirong's character and thoughts. He is very arrogant, unruly and maverick. When we talked about the heavenly sons of the era, he was only mentioned briefly. When we talked about the clash between Shanbei and Songqing University, he was ignored again. Most of the time it was Peng Liyun who fought against Cheng and Lin Quebec. With his character, I think he will be very unhappy. He will hold back his anger and want to prove himself. Most of the time he will take the initiative to fight against Cheng or Lin Ke in their best condition. If Peng Liyun doesn't have a choice, then the most natural choice is to accept. With Peng Liyun's strength and self-confidence, he will definitely accept." Lin Hua clapped her hands lightly as if she had suddenly understood. "After hearing what you said, I think Shanbei will most likely fight in the order of Fang Zhirong, Peng Liyun, and Xuanhuan." Sun Jian shook his finger to show his agreement. Xianxia looked around and saw Lu Cheng's encouraging eyes. She took a deep breath and continued, "For us there are only two options. For Shanbei, each has its own advantages and disadvantages. If Lin Ke is the vanguard, it will be a big burden to defeat Fang Zhirong, and it will be difficult to exhaust Peng Liyun. A professional sixth pin in the Dan stage has abnormal physical strength. In this case, Cheng won't have much hope to defeat Peng Liyun, who is about 80% of his strength. But if he succeeds, he will have a psychological advantage against Xuanhuan. Even if he can't win, he will push Xuanhuan to his limit and give us a chance to hold the line." Xuanhuan, who was close to his limit, was not strong enough to turn the situation around if he faced a professional ninth pin or a professional ninth pin fighter in perfect condition. The simplest example was whether he still had the ability to find a chance to speak. The legend of Lu Cheng's unlimited physical strength had been broken. It was foreseeable that Xuanhuan would not be shaken by this. Everyone listened thoughtfully. They watched Xianxia solemnly analyze the second option. If Lu Cheng is the vanguard, he can take advantage of his physical strength. After defeating Fang Zhirong, he can let Peng Liyun fight fiercely and leave Lin Ke with enough hope. This is better than the first option. But a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. After defeating Peng Liyun, Lin Ke is likely to be defeated quickly by Corvine Beak. And Xuanhuan, who is in good condition, should have no problem defeating any of us. Speaking of this, she looked at Geezer Shi, who had been silent all this time, and said, "Coach Shi, which option is up to you in the end?" Geezer Shi coughed twice and laughed. "Let's pick the last one first. Li Mao, you go." "Yes, Coach Shi." Li Mao answered in surprise. Xianxia, on the other hand, was a little gloomy, because it was the hateful period again. After her physical fitness had reached the level of a professional ninth pin, her menstrual cycle had become very regular. It was less early or late, and it was the same this time. Tomorrow was the official date. She had originally thought that she could fight today, but in the afternoon, perhaps due to the pressure of facing the defending champion, she felt like her period was coming. If it was just a strong opponent, she felt that she could fight in such a condition. But the opponent was Shanbei, a terrible enemy that she had to squeeze every chance to win. Considering that her condition was deteriorating, she rationally chose to give up and give the opportunity to Li Mao, who was in good condition and had made great progress. She hoped that senior brother Li Mao would not be nervous at the end. While she was in emotional turmoil, she suddenly felt that her hand was held by Lu Qing quietly. They looked at each other and did not say anything. Geezer Shi cleared his throat and laughed. "Since the order of Lin Ke, Lu Qing, and Lu Qing has advantages and disadvantages, then we—" He made a decision with a "Hey, let's draw lots." Draw lots? Lu Qing was a little dumbfounded, so were the other members. Isn't this too childish? In the locker room of Shanbei University, Huang Qing, a middle-aged coach with white hair, glanced at Xuanhuan and said, "You'll fight last." He was a senior coach in the university martial arts circle. Although he was only at professional 8th pin in the Dan stage, he was very good at teaching newcomers. He had trained countless professional 9th pin fighters, including nearly 10 in the Danchi stage. Many martial arts clubs, martial arts schools, and even clubs had hired him with high salaries. Unfortunately, he preferred the atmosphere of the university and thought that the treatment was not bad, so he stayed in the circle. In the last 2 or 3 years, he had been working quietly behind the scenes, overshadowed by Peng Liyun. "Okay." Xuanhuan heaved a sigh of relief and replied happily. Huang Qing was about to continue the arrangement when Fang Zhirong suddenly stepped forward and said, "Coach, I want to fight first." Looking at his stubborn eyes and freckles, Huang Qing unconsciously glanced at Peng Liyun, only to see that the heavenly son of the era had come back from his daze and was smiling casually. Okay, you'll be the vanguard. Huang Qing agreed to Fang Zhirong's request. This bad boy took a bit of a wrong path when he entered the university. Thanks to Huang Qing's correction and guidance, he was able to maintain his progress and reach the Dan stage in 1 year. He was Huang Qing's proud disciple. Fang Zhirong nodded hard, then took a deep breath and looked out of the door. I'll prove to everyone that I'm also a heavenly son of the era. The copyright of this year's university martial arts competition was bought by a big video website, so the match between Shanbei and Songqing University could only be watched on the internet. Brahmin had 2 braids hanging in front of her and a pile of snacks in front of her. Her eyes were focused on the computer screen, listening to the conversation between the host and the guest commentator, a high-ranked Dan stage grandpa Zhang He. After listening to Senior Zhang's analysis, I have a general idea. Today's highlight is not whether Songqing University can beat Shanbei, but whether Lu Cheng and Lin Ke can take turns to beat Peng Liyun. The host said excitedly. Bullet comments floated over his head. I don't think it's possible. Come on, Lizai. Prove that they are fake heavenly sons. A professional 6th pin fighter's physical strength is abnormal. Peng Liyun really has a chance to win 2 matches in a row. Shanqing Sect Fan Group reporting. Wuxia Club is not afraid. Lu Qing will create another miracle. Seeing that Peng Liyun's supporters obviously had the upper hand in the bullet comments, Brahmin was so angry that she pulled her braids and reached out to turn off the bullet comments. So angry. Out of sight, out of mind. In the office of the Martial Arts Club of Capital College, a group of members were watching the projected live broadcast. Hasn't the president come yet? Xinyu, who looked clean, asked worriedly. When a cute girl with a round face heard this question, she exclaimed and replied embarrassedly, Senior sister said that she would come over by herself. She told me not to wait for her. Xinyu covered her face. Oh no, she must be lost again. You guys watch first. I'll call her. In the lively and jubilant atmosphere, Yan Shaoling, Mu Jinyan and others were a little nervous. Until Geezer Shi came out first, followed by Lu Cheng and Lin Ke, they cheered up and forgot their fear. They took out the small trumpet and blew the welcome horn. When both sides were seated, the referee, a high-ranked Dan stage, stepped into the arena. The broadcast began to announce the 2 sides of the first match. First round, Fang Zhirong. The announcer paused deliberately to let Fang Zhirong receive the cheers of the audience. Then he shouted in a normal tone, against Lin Ke. The focal battle was about to start. Chapter 330. December 21st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The referee stood in the middle of the ring and shouted, First round between Shanbei University Martial Arts Club and Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Fang Zhirong versus Lin Ke. As the voice echoed, Lin Ke and Fang Zhirong stood up at the same time, as if they had been waiting for a long time. Maybe it was out of habit or maybe it was because he had been influenced for a long time, but Lin Ke didn't go directly to the ring. Instead, he bumped fists with his teammates from left to right and heard cheers after cheers. When it came to the coach, Geezer Shi coughed. Unlike the young people, he only spat out 2 words, Don't worry. Don't worry. Lin Ke repeated silently. There seemed to be a flash of light in his deep eyes. He turned around and left his seat. Along the path to the defending champion, he walked step by step to the front of the stone steps. Around him, the deafening sound of trumpets rose and fell, one after another, welcoming Fang Zhirong to the ring. Fang Zhirong was a big boy of medium height with a delicate appearance. He looked shy, but his eyes were wild and stubborn. There seemed to be a proud and sharp soul hidden in his body. As soon as he stood on the right side of the referee, he stared sharply at Lin Ke, full of eagerness to fight. Lin Ke didn't show any weakness. He looked back calmly as if there was a flame burning in the depths of his eyes. Defeating a qualified opponent was what every martial artist yearned for and looked forward to. The tense scene in the ring made the host in the live broadcast room sigh with emotion. Last September they were both highly anticipated genius fighters in the martial arts circle of the university, but they never got the chance to fight each other. One of them was overshadowed by Peng Liyun's brilliance, and the other was overtaken by Lu Cheng, whose brilliance was overshadowed by Lu Cheng. Both of them have their own shortcomings. Today's duel will definitely have a loser and a winner. Well, we can't rule out a tie. In short, the winner will get back the glory that belongs to him, and the loser will be dejected, suffer greater setbacks and bear greater pressure. Senior Zhang, who do you think will win? It's hard to say. Zhang Huan shook his head and didn't make a definite judgment. They have just entered the dance stage a few months ago and are still in the stage of advancing by leaps and bounds. How many moves of the fighting sect has Lin Ke mastered? How many breakthroughs of the meteor force has Fang Zhirong made? What new things have Fang Zhirong comprehended from the incomplete dark sect, plague sect and magnetic sect? None of these are known to outsiders. In other words, they don't know much about each other. This competition is full of variables. While the host and the guests were chatting, the referee looked around and extended his right hand. Conversation time starts now. Fang Zhirong smiled bashfully. The fighting spirit in his eyes grew stronger. When I first entered university, I kept hearing your name and was always compared to you. It was inevitable that I wanted to fight with you. But last year, President Su awakened the Corvine Beak, supernatural ability, and didn't give me a chance. Now I can finally officially fight with you. At this point he was no longer courteous and courteous. Let's see who is more powerful and who doesn't live up to his name. Let's see who is the real heavenly son of the era. Since August I have been holding my breath, waiting for today, waiting for the battle to prove myself. Facing his provocative words, Lin Ke didn't even blink. He stood there with a blank expression. He was silent, brewing and secretly counting. Fang Zhirong knew his opponent's usual behavior, so he didn't care. After speaking his mind, he felt relieved and began to adjust his body slightly. He rotated the local magnetic field and pushed his state higher bit by bit. When the conversation time was coming to an end, he suddenly saw Lin Ke open his mouth and reply to his previous words. Unfortunately you are not Peng Liyun. Unfortunately you are not Peng Liyun? Does that mean I'm not qualified? Is there a big gap between me and Peng Liyun? Fang Zhirong was hit in the part of his heart that he didn't want to be touched. Because of his deeply hidden inferiority he was furious. Like a stray cat whose tail was stepped on, his pupils contracted and his hair stood on end. He was about to rush forward and tear his enemy apart. Sooner or later I will defeat Peng Liyun. Sooner or later I will surpass him. This day will start with defeating you. Just as Fang Zhirong was about to come to his senses and suppress his emotions, the referee raised his right hand and suddenly swung it down. Begin. Lin Ke's grasp of the enemy's psychology and his use of time could be described as accurate. He was worthy of being a top student of the psychology department. However, when it came to psychological problems, those who could treat themselves couldn't treat themselves. Moreover, they were resistant to other people's treatment. Fang Zhirong was burning with anger. He bent his back and rushed toward his opponent in a zigzag manner, sticking close to the ground. His speed was extremely fast and his footwork was very strange. His opponent couldn't grasp where he would land every time. Lu Cheng's snake steps mixed with mercurial balance paled in comparison to his current state. Even if he was furious, Fang Zhirong was still a battle-hardened martial artist. He had seen Lin Ke's previous matches and had a deep impression of Lin Ke's lightning-fast attack at the beginning of the match. He didn't give him such a chance. Lin Ke looked indifferent. He didn't make the first move. His muscles and fascias operated and his feet moved toward Fang Zhirong, turning from passive to active. The sound of wind filled the arena. The two of them moved quickly and kept crossing each other. Each of them was looking for the best opportunity to attack. However, as soon as such an opportunity appeared, it was often covered by the opponent's footwork. They didn't collide for dozens of seconds as if they were performing a dance for the audience. The layman enjoyed the show while the expert appreciated the skill. While the audience was slightly disappointed that there wasn't a physical fight, Lu Cheng was watching attentively. His brother-in-law and Fang Zhirong's footwork were different. Fang Zhirong's footwork was ingenious. He moved in a straight line like a shooting star. He won with speed and won with skill. The other was curved but not straight. He moved in circles and was more unpredictable. He was like a ghost in the dark night. Of course, they weren't very accomplished in this aspect. They were obviously weaker than Xiao Lin, who had practiced her family's footwork to the level of lotus steps, accompanying clouds and thunder. Lu Cheng had to practice use steps to the level of astral wind steps. When he walked, he was surrounded by astral wind and made continuous explosive sounds. Only then could he be considered a match. After a few more rounds, the distance between the two of them was getting shorter and shorter. Lin Ke and Fang Zhirong seized the opportunity almost at the same time. Before they could use their strength and Dan Qi, Lin Ke exploded the strength in his shoulders and quickly swung his forearms to punch out like lightning. The other's back muscles swelled, and he slid forward and punched out like an illusion in the night. Bang! Their opportunities were intercepted by each other. The two fists collided in midair, making the first muffled sound of the match. Seeing the two fists freeze in midair, Fang Zhirong's elbow joint was dislocated in a strange position, causing his forearm to rise like a venomous snake. He leaped up close to Lin Kei's fist, his 5 fingers spread open and quickly, accurately and ruthlessly grabbed his opponent's arm. At this moment, Fang Zhirong's 5 fingers glowed with a faint dark light, as if they had turned into poisonous fangs. He was going to inject a deadly substance into Lin Kei's body through contact. The Dark Sect's dark poison force. This force originated from the Plague Sect and was also known as the Plague Force. It was later learned by the founder of the Infinite Scripture of Dark Sky, and incorporated into his own knowledge. It became one of the core forces of the Dark Sect. Compared to the original version, it was less poisonous and more mysterious. No matter where Lin Kei was touched, as long as it was not blocked by his force, he would be poisoned. Although the dark poison force that Fang Zhirong had mastered couldn't threaten Lin Kei's life with his current state, it could at least cause various negative effects, such as dizziness, difficulty in breathing, chest tightness and shortness of breath, effectively reducing the opponent's strength. Moreover, the poison would definitely accumulate, stacking over and over again. It would be difficult for Lin Kei to withstand it. Fang Zhirong's 5 fingers were like fangs that were about to bite down. It was so fast that it was impossible to dodge. At this moment, the muscles on Lin Kei's arms suddenly tightened and contracted, tightly sticking to his bones. It made that part of his body shorter, out of thin air, causing Fang Zhirong's poisonous fangs to be slightly faster. It was as if he was trapped in a place of nothingness. This tightening and contraction was not normal. It was done by Lin Kei's force concentration. Following that, he didn't try to grab his opponent's wrist. Instead, he spurted out his Dan force and stomped his left foot. The 16th move of the fighting sect, earth cracking. Boom. The sound exploded from inside the arena. The ground under Fang Zhirong's feet suddenly cracked open, with a strong force rushing up like a volcano coming to life. Compared to the previous move, Lin Kei's move had improved a lot. Fang Zhirong felt pain in the sole of his foot and couldn't help but pull back his leg. His body lost its balance and became unsteady. During this process, his right hand moved up and his 5 fingers left Lin Kei's arm. He couldn't catch Lin Kei anymore, so he injected the poison force. Lin Kei's eyes flashed. He wanted to seize the opportunity to start a combo. In this situation, Fang Zhirong didn't follow the momentum of the swaying to avoid the follow-up attacks with his footwork. He also didn't use force concentration to circulate his qi and blood to stabilize his body and defend against the counterattack. Instead, he swayed his center of gravity, exerted strength in his shoulders, and swung his right hand backward, hitting Lin Kei's arm with the back of his palm. He did some visualization in his mind. The darkness on his fingertips faded quickly, and the edge of his palm was stained with a touch of green. Bam! Lin Kei, who was about to attack, couldn't dodge in time. The back of Lu Cheng's hand brushed past his forearm. His vision suddenly turned black and he felt an indescribable pain. It was as if he had suffered a fracture, as if he had been hit in a vital part. It was just a brush, but it hurt so much. The 27th move of the Plague Sect, Scorpion Tail Needle. Fang Zhirong hadn't wasted the past few months. Not only had he mastered the force, but he had also mastered 2 unique moves. This move couldn't bring out the toxicity of the dark poison force, but it could cause more pain than normal, which would obviously affect the enemy. Although Lin Kei's right hand wasn't hurt, it still felt like it was disabled because it was uncomfortable when he used force. At this time, Fang Zhirong finally swung away and staggered back a few steps. Lin Kei knew that this kind of stimulation could be resolved by shrinking his qi and blood, force and spirit, but it was equivalent to wasting a chance to break out the Dan stage. Therefore, he stubbornly clenched his teeth and endured the pain without doing anything. His face was pale and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. Chapter 331. While Lin Kei was enduring the pain, Fang Zhirong was not relaxed at all. For this match, he had watched many videos of powerful Dan stage fighters from Shushan Study and was deeply impressed by their terrifying combo moves. Just now, when the sole of his foot was injured and he lost his balance, he subconsciously thought of this. Therefore, he used the Scorpion Tail Needle in advance to avoid falling into the brink of failure. His original plan was to use this move of the Plague Sect at the critical moment and take advantage of Lin Kei's sudden pain to seize the opportunity to win. Now that he had exposed it so early, not only did he lose the element of surprise, but also caused a great burden to his body. It was all because he had been provoked by the Scorpion Tail Needle, so the fight was more risky. Fang Zhirong was quite annoyed. He restrained his emotions, bent down again and zigzagged around Lin Quebec. He did not attack and did not give his opponent a chance to use force concentration to relieve the pain. Being distracted by the pain would consume a fighter's energy. He intended to prolong this process as long as possible to weaken Lin Ke until his opponent got used to the pain. While zigzagging, he was slightly limping because the sole of his right foot had been hit by the earth fissure, leaving bruises and pain. If it were not for his shoes, he would have been seriously injured. In the short fight, both sides had suffered losses. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the commentator in the live broadcast room, Jianghu, explained in detail the few terms he had shouted before. Dark Poison Force is one of the core forces of the Dark Sect. It's very poisonous. No matter where it hits the opponent, it will cause a snake-like effect. As for the symptoms after being poisoned, it will depend on which aspect Fang Zhirong focuses on. The Dark Poison Force, practiced by different Dark Sect fighters, is different. Some will cause hallucinations, some will cause shortness of breath, and some will cause dizziness. Scorpion Tail Needle is a dance stage move of the Plague Sect. It's part of the incomplete version and can produce pain that is several times greater than the original damage. The host was stunned when he heard this. He gasped and said, "Senior Zhang, is this true? But Fang Zhirong has no supernatural ability. How did he practice this force and this move?" For a dance stage martial artist without supernatural ability, before he entered the inhuman level and his root pulp changed, the force he cultivated depended on the cooperation of his own muscles, fascia, 5 viscera, 6 bowels, and spirit to create a certain effect by producing special waves. For example, a normal dance stage martial artist of the Ice Sect couldn't have such a strong frost force as Lu Cheng, let alone be able to release it. But according to Senior Zhang, the impact of Fang Zhirong's force and moves were beyond the normal level. Zhang He laughed and said, "He must have used the corresponding medicine to help him practice, just like how some fighters practice poison palm. This kind of force and moves can only be exerted by touching the opponent in a fixed position. It will be weaker and weaker each time, so he has to practice it again after the competition. Moreover, it is very burdensome to the body and can cause a lot of damage. Some break through the limit of the human body slowly, while some are not at the same level. Only when the root pulp is affected and changes corresponding to it can one slowly recover." While he was talking, Fang Zhirong saw that Lin Ke had already adapted to the pain, so he stopped moving and moved closer to him. He changed his moves and attacked with his fists and legs, followed by the catch, and watched in front and suddenly behind. This was the martial art he had become famous for when he was a professional ninth pin fighter. It was derived from the Plague Sect's chronic illness entanglement, unique skill, attack of 9 diseases. The word entanglement was prominent, and it could be used so easily that the opponent could only barely parry and not get rid of it. It was as if the opponent was suffering from various diseases and could only wait to be cured. Bang 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 bang. Fang Zhirong had been aiming at Lin Ke's right hand and didn't give him the best chance to counterattack with force concentration. For a moment he had the upper hand, which made Mu Jinyan and Yan Zhika show the same worry. After calculating the approximate time when the pain would subside, he calmed down and suddenly showed a flaw. Lin Ke waited for a long time and stopped hesitating. He took a deep breath and let the pain condense into a point along with his qi and blood and spirit. Boom. Like a volcano erupting, the Dan qi gushed out. Lin Ke's right arm swelled, and he clenched his fist like a hammer and fiercely swung it at his opponent. He tore the air in the air like an airplane flying through the clouds. They were too close to each other, so he didn't have enough time to prepare for meteor burst. Facing this, Fang Zhirong didn't panic. He hugged his opponent and sat firmly on the golden throne. Bang! He took half a step forward and his body grew a little taller. He swung his fist majestically and said, "Sky-burning fire." Bang! The 2 fists froze in midair. Fang Zhirong's feet sank into the ground. His martial arts shoes, which had long been damaged, were torn into pieces and scattered in different directions. Lin Ke, on the other hand, didn't move at all. He was about to use double explosion to give his opponent another earth-splitting attack. At this time, Lin Ke suddenly felt a strange suction from his opponent's fist, which slowed down the withdrawal of his right hand. Magnetic sect? He thought. He took a deep breath and shook his muscles. Not only did he stop the withdrawal, but he also took the opportunity to punch forward. He used the yin-yang twist to attack Fang Zhirong with the help of the suction force. Seeing this, Fang Zhirong was not surprised but happy. His face reddened and he shook and twisted his wrist. The suction force suddenly changed into a repulsive force, which slowed Lin Ke's attack. It was this delay that made Fang Zhirong's body explode. It was like there were turbines running crazily. He controlled his body and changed the magnetic field in the subtle parts of his body. They stimulated and influenced each other, superimposing a terrifying explosive force. Magnetic sect, rotation of poles, magnetic field rotation. With a boom, he punched and blasted the air in front of him. He blasted towards Lin Ke with a crushing force. He didn't use force concentration for this attack, but it was almost as powerful as a dance stage explosion. When one reached the inhuman stage, one's control was stronger and one's body had changed. Many visualizations were no longer necessary. This move could be used together with force concentration to double the effect of a dance stage explosion. Of course, the burden was not just doubled. Fang Zhirong used drugs to train his strength and his body was damaged. The number of times he could use force concentration was less than a normal dance stage, and he could only use double explosion once. Therefore, he practiced this move painstakingly to make up for his shortcomings. However, under normal circumstances, it was difficult to have enough preparation time to use this move freely in a battle. But now, he wanted to use this move to consume Lin Ke's dance stage explosion. He wanted his opponent, who was still worried about the next match, to become impatient and make mistakes during the battle, giving him an opportunity to take advantage of. As for himself, he wasn't in a hurry at all. With Peng Liyun behind him, no one would be in a hurry. In such a short distance, Fang Zhirong's punch was so powerful that Lin Ke couldn't dodge it. He had to either use force concentration to take it head-on, or be knocked out of his stance and retreat. He was in danger. Lin Ke's eyes grew deeper. He raised both his hands and his wrists were gentle. He pulled and pushed. He chose not to use the power of his Dan force at this moment. Bam! Fang Zhirong's fist seemed to be stuck in a quagmire. Under the pull and push of his opponent's palms, it lost some momentum and couldn't release all of its power. Bam bam bam. Lin Ke took 3 steps back. His center of gravity was shaky, and his body wasn't nimble enough. Now is the time. Fang Zhirong seized the opportunity and strode forward. He stretched out his right hand and grasped Lin Ke's left arm accurately. A faint ink light flashed and poured into Lin Ke's arm. He finally had a chance to use his dark poison force to his heart's content. Seeing that he had succeeded, Fang Zhirong was delighted. He was about to attack again when he saw that Lin Ke's eyes were calm, as if he had been waiting for this moment. Lin Ke took a deep breath. His body trembled violently, and all of his muscles seemed to be undulating. He stretched out his right hand and spread out his 5 fingers. The tip of his hand was also black. G family's yin-yang twist. I'll return your dark poison force with my dark poison force. With a snap of his fingers, Lin Ke poured half of the borrowed dark poison force into Fang Zhirong's body and returned it to his opponent. Fang Zhirong's chest tightened and he felt short of breath. Although he was resistant to poison, taking so much at once would still affect him. As for Lin Ke, his yin-yang twist was still far from being able to completely neutralize his opponent's force. More than half of the poison still remained in his body, and his chi was even weaker. However, he was already prepared. After his successful attack, he immediately used force concentration to reduce all the negative effects. Taking advantage of the fact that Fang Zhirong had yet to recover, he exploded his human body Big Dan. After accumulating his momentum, he leaned forward and swung his arm. After expanding his muscles, he quickly rushed forward again. Boom! The air between the two seemed to explode as a violent shockwave surged toward Fang Zhirong. Fighting Sect's 27th move, Meteor Burst. Just as Lin Ke was about to punch, Fang Zhirong's pupils shrank. He didn't dare to be careless and quickly used force concentration to condense his chi and blood in his dantian. He raised his hand to block the violent impact. But once Lin Ke started his combo, it wouldn't be so simple. He hugged and let go and his left foot suddenly stomped down. Fighting Sect's earth cracking, double explosion. Bang! A muffled sound came from within as the ground cracked. Fang Zhirong didn't care about his feet. His feet hurt and his body swayed again. He had to use force concentration to circulate his chi and blood to stabilize his center of gravity. At this time Lin Ke's foot stomped down, and he was already close to Fang Zhirong's body. His arm opened and closed and he grabbed Fang Zhirong's arm. He bent his elbow and pressed it against Fang Zhirong's joint, making it temporarily impossible for Fang Zhirong to use force. Then Lin Ke took a deep breath and visualized the scene of a falling meteor. He let go of his dantian and jumped up, pressing Fang Zhirong against the ground. Triple explosion. Fighting Sect's 10th move, Death Calamity. Bang! Fang Zhirong was dizzy from the fall and lost the ability to fight back. Lin Ke lowered his body, loosened his arm, and with a spring of his arm, pressed against Fang Zhirong's throat. The referee raised his right hand and announced loudly, Lin Ke wins. Songqing University Martial Arts Club won the first match. Hearing this, Mu Jinyan immediately jumped up and cheered, "You're right. Hooray. Lin Ke is awesome." Lu Cheng, Yanjika, and the others were also happy, but they weren't so excited. The match was not over yet, and there were still many difficulties ahead. Chapter 332. In the live broadcast room of the video website, the commentator, Jianghu, was full of praise for Lin Ke's attack. If you look at the three moves separately, they're just SOSO. The application of force is more important than the cleverness of the moves. But the connection between them. The connection is just right. One move after another, leaving no chance for Fang Zhirong to escape. Lin Ke seems to have grasped some of the essence of the combo of the fighting sect. In the end, Fang Zhirong couldn't fight back. Firstly, his arm was caught. Secondly, his joints were pressed. Thirdly, Lin Ke must have sent a corresponding force into his body, which affected him and made him unable to use his full strength. Otherwise, how could this combo be called death? When Lin Ke grabbed Fang Zhirong, pay attention to his fingers. There's also the performance of dark poison force. This should be a unique skill derived from the shifting stars of the fighting sect. If I'm not wrong, it's probably the yin-yang twist of the Ji family. Risky, a little risky. With Lin Ke's realm, it's a little risky. Lin Ke held back at the end. If he didn't hold back with Fang Zhirong's current physique, he would have lost half of his life. If he was unlucky, his spine would have hit a sharp stone. Then he would have been paralyzed. Fang Zhirong too. How should I say this? Others are incoherent once they succeed. But he got it in one move and forgot to be cautious. He wanted to win too much and cared too much. Listening to old Master Zhang's explanation, the bullet screen floated by. Damn, Lin Ke was so cool when he grabbed Fang Zhirong and pressed him down. My blood is boiling from watching this. When Fang Zhirong's back hit the arena with a bang, I was so excited that I was burning. This is a competition, this is martial arts. Those who are burning should go away. Me too. But I'm supporting Shanbei. When Fang Zhirong hit the ground, I, who am familiar with romance novels, thought of a word, a ravaged rag doll? Looks like Fang Zhirong is falling behind. He's out of the competition for the heavenly son of the age. He can't even beat Lin Quebec. What a piece of trash. Damn, is this a fake competition? Just look at the odds. I supported him so much. He's so useless. The audience couldn't hide their disappointment either. No one wanted to see Lin Ke lose, but as supporters of the defending champion, they had experienced the test of battle time and time again, so they restrained their emotions and sincerely applauded Lin Quebec. They applauded for his performance just now, and for the last hit that made their adrenaline rush. They tolerated Mu Jinyan's excitement and cheers to the greatest extent. Yan Shaoling was stunned and suspected that Shanbei did not have many supporters. Most of the people present were hired extras. His demeanor is not bad. I can let myself loose later, she thought silently. Amidst the applause, the Shanbei students subconsciously turned their eyes to the home team seats, waiting for the king to pick up his scepter and ascend to his throne to appease the disappointment in everyone's hearts. Ever since he entered university, he had never really failed. Peng Liyun cast his gaze towards the ring and unhurriedly unzipped his clothes. He took off his winter coat, revealing the martial arts suit underneath. Shanbei's martial arts suit was the traditional pure white, which clashed with Songqing's white with black edges. This way, the audience would not be able to tell who was who during the fight, which was not good for the broadcast. Therefore, the defending champion showed his elegance and wore a spare black suit. Peng Liyun's black suit made his skin look like white jade with a faint glow. His whole temperament was cleaner and cleaner, like a god or an immortal. On the chest of his martial arts suit, there was an embroidered pattern of 2 crowns, which symbolized that Shanbei had won 2 national university martial arts competitions championships. 2 years ago there was none. Under the watchful eyes of the audience, Peng Liyun flicked his clothes, collected his thoughts and stood up with a focused gaze. The moment he stood up, the audience went wild. Countless voices merged into one shout, "Champion!" On the arena, Lin Ke let go of Fang Zhirong and took 2 steps back. He opened his mouth and breathed in big gulps of thin air. This was because he had consumed a lot of energy and was tired. It was also because of the remnants of the dark poison force that was still affecting his body. Dark poison force was poisonous. Unlike shock and pain, which could be completely neutralized by force concentration, there were bound to be side effects. It needed to be completely eliminated through the body's metabolism. If one encountered a martial artist who had mastered this kind of force and didn't have a strong enough physique, they might need to be treated with medicine to truly recover. When Lin Ke did not use force concentration to deal with Fang Zhirong's rotation of 2 poles, He already had the idea of taking the risk of resisting the dark poison force and using the yin-yang twist to surprise his opponent. The reason for this was that he felt that the combination of the dark sect and the plague sect was strange and poisonous. If he was not careful, he would fall into the trap and lose the match. It was better to take the initiative to create an opportunity and grasp the victory in the palm of his hand. Even if he had to pay a high price, he would not hesitate. If he wanted to defeat an opponent like Fang Zhirong, it was impossible to do so without paying a price. Although Geezer Shi had specifically told him to not be hasty before entering the arena, Lin Ke still believed in his own observation and judgment when it came to performing on the spot. Fang Zhirong struggled to stand up. His eyes were full of anger. He was angry at his opponent, but even more angry at himself. If he had not been happy after the dark poison force had entered Lin Ke's body and had not planned to take the opportunity to attack again, he would have immediately dodged like a normal dark sect member to open up a distance to prevent the opponent's fierce counterattack and wait for the toxins to fully take effect. There was no possibility of being hurt by the unique skill derived from shifting stars. In that case, not only would Lin Ke have to use one dance stage explosion to reduce the toxins, but he would also be weakened to a certain extent in the future. Then he would have more or less secured victory. Regret and pain were like a poisonous snake gnawing at Fang Zhirong's soul. He did not care about politeness. He turned around and stumbled out of the arena. The anger in his body seemed to be about to be vented at any time. He could already imagine what kind of comments would appear on the internet. At the thought of this, he felt more sullen, more regretful, more angry, and more painful. When he met Peng Liyun on the way, Fang Zhirong was completely immersed in his own world and did not notice him at all. Or rather, he did not want to notice him. They brushed past each other and did not interact. Peng Liyun took a light breath and shook off the little emotions in his heart. He walked to the front of the stone steps with a smile and stepped onto the arena step by step. He did not release his imposing manner. Just the various halos on his body made Lin Ke subconsciously hold his breath. A man's name was like a tree's shadow. The heavenly son of the age naturally had an intimidating aura. In the guest team seats, Lu Cheng Yanzhika and the others also focused their expressions. They restrained their joy and became serious and silent. Lin Ke had performed a force concentration and then completed the triple explosion. There was still the influence of the dark poison force in his body. How much fighting strength did Lin Ke have left? How much could he shake this heavenly son of the age? In the oppressive atmosphere, only Geezer Shi was nagging to himself. Lin Ke is also a person who does not listen to reason. I told him not to rush, but he just had to rush. If Fang Zhirong was not agitated by him and also became anxious and wanted to win more, he would have lost. Sigh, he does not listen to the advice of an old man. Sigh. He actually did not suffer in front of him. Peng Liyun and Lin Ke stood on both sides of the referee amidst the shouts of champion that filled the arena. The referee did not delay and announced loudly, "Second round, start." The sound of start was still echoing. Just when everyone thought Lin Ke would use the tactic of avoiding the opponent's main force to save his strength and try to exhaust Peng Liyun and seize the opportunity to break out the dance stage at the critical moment, the chi, blood, and force around his body suddenly contracted and condensed, then expanded and expanded. With a bang, it was as if a bomb had exploded under Lin Ke's feet. Countless pieces of debris flew out in all directions. His entire body turned into a high-speed heavy truck, as if he was chasing after the sound. He rushed towards his opponent with a buzzing sound, closing the distance between them in the blink of an eye. But just when he took a step, Peng Liyun seemed to have a premonition. His chi and blood condensed and his waist swayed like a cloud, naturally and harmoniously bouncing out. He faced the challenge head-on and did not avoid it at all. With this flick, there seemed to be an afterimage in the air. It seemed that in just an instant, Peng Liyun had arrived in front of Lin Ke, despite moving later. Dong. Peng Liyun stomped on the ground and shook the arena. Lu Cheng and Li Mao, who were sitting in the away team seats, could feel the power of 10,000 galloping horses. They saw Peng Liyun's arms swing back and threw out a punch like thunder breaking through the sky. The 36th move of the Thunder Sect, Flash Attack. Lin Ke hurriedly stopped and turned the kinetic energy into strength. His muscles bulged and he raised his arm. His fist turned into a cannonball and shot out like a bolt of lightning. He knew Peng Liyun had Flash Attack, but he did not expect his opponent to have predicted that he would cut off all means of retreat. Boom. The meteor exploded, and the airflow turned into waves that flooded toward Peng Liyun. However, the god's favored one's fist forcibly dispersed the shock wave, passed through the gale and collided with Lin Ke's right fist. The muffled sound was covered by the explosion. Lin Kei's body leaned back as if he could not bear it and was about to fall back. But he once again used force concentration to reverse his chi and blood. He controlled his center of gravity, stabilized his stance, and stepped out with his left foot. Almost at the same time, Peng Liyun held his Dan in his abdomen, expanded his right leg, and sent a hidden force down from the soles of his feet. Poof! A muffled sound came from inside the arena, but the green bricks did not crack. Lin Kei's ground fissure was so easily neutralized. Peng Liyun used the rebound to jump up and reach out his hands to grab both of his opponent's shoulders. Lin Kei felt a sharp pain in his shoulder and hurriedly raised his arm in an attempt to ward off the attack. At this moment, Peng Liyun's veins bulged like numerous flood dragons, showing a strong sense of strength. But in response, Lin Kei swayed his waist and back and smoothly flashed behind his opponent. The position of his hands did not change, but the path he came from was forcibly changed into an arc and was no longer the same, just enough to avoid the attack. Peng Liyun pressed down with his hands and clasped his fingers. Lin Kei's body suddenly became numb and stiffened, almost collapsing. The referee raised his right hand and announced loudly, "Second round, Peng Liyun wins. 3 moves, Peng Liyun wins." Lin Kei regained his composure and turned his head around. He looked at his opponent with a complicated gaze and said in a low, muffled voice, "Thank you. Thank you for not underestimating me and going all out." Peng Liyun smiled and nodded. He did not look like he had just fought a match. In the away team seats, Lu Qing exhaled and took off his jacket. The scenes of the past 4 months of hard training and the discussions with Xianxia flashed in his mind. Is it finally going to start? Chapter 333. Is it finally going to start? I've been waiting for more than 4 months. I even gave up the ranking event just for this moment. Lu Qing reached out and held Xianxia's delicate hand. He stood up quickly and looked over the path of glory to the arena. Only then did the surrounding audience react. They all sighed in satisfaction, praising the king of Flying Bird Hall for defeating his opponent so easily. They shouted in unison and sincerely called out, "King! Number 1. Number 1 in the university martial arts circle." Hearing their praise, Mu Jinyan couldn't help but stomp her feet. She looked at Lin Kei with pity and bit her lip. "So angry. You bully our Lin Kei who just finished a fight." On the interface of the live broadcast website, there was a fierce argument on the bullet screen. "Only 3 moves? Lazai just warmed up. Lin Kei is just SOSO. He's not qualified to be a candidate for the heavenly son of the age. Peng Liyun is indeed a true genius. So what if it's only 3 moves? Lin Kei just defeated Fang Zhirong and consumed a lot of energy. What's more, he's still under the influence of the dark poison force. He's 2 levels lower than Peng Liyun. Losing in 3 moves doesn't mean anything. Stubborn. Didn't he say that he's 2 levels lower than Peng Liyun? Is he still a candidate for the heavenly son of the age?" "That's right. Lin Kei is 1 year younger than Peng Liyun. Isn't it normal for him to be weaker than him? He'll catch up sooner or later." "Catch up? Can he reach 2 levels in 1 year? Can he reach the level of 6th pin by this time next year? I think it's hard, no, almost impossible." There were many viewers who supported Peng Liyun, but there were also many who supported Lin Quebec. A young martial artist who was strong, handsome, and cold would always attract people's love. The 2 sides were arguing fiercely for a while, and the bullet screen almost completely covered the video above. "Senior Zhang, what do you think? Is the gap between Lin Kei and Peng Liyun so big?" The host seized the opportunity and threw a question to the commentator. Zhang He chuckled and said, "There is definitely a gap. Peng Liyun is at least a year ahead of Lin Quebec. If Lin Kei had caught up with him, then he wouldn't be called the Heaven's Pride of the era. As for how big the gap is, we'll have to wait until Lin Kei fights with Peng Liyun in perfect condition to know. As for this battle, if Lin Kei didn't go all out, he wouldn't have lost in 3 moves." "Do you mean Lin Kei made a wrong choice? Too impatient and risky?" the host keenly asked in return. Zhang He shook his head and said, "It's hard to say. I'm inclined to think that Lin Kei was greatly affected by the dark poison force. He consumed a lot of energy and his physical strength was severely reduced. His resistance was weakened. If he had used other methods, he might not have been able to hold on for long. It was better to take a risk and see if he could find an opportunity to give Peng Liyun a set of consecutive moves. Even if he couldn't win, he could at least tire his opponent. But who knew that Peng Liyun's absolute reaction was getting more and more powerful? He was able to sense the malice and the subtle preparations of the body and made the best response. After hearing what you said, I think Peng Liyun is so strong that he has no friends. Lu Qing is also in danger. With the strength of 6th pin close to the inhuman stage, The battle just now was really just a warm-up. The host sighed. At this time Lu Qing first high-fived Xianxia, then turned around and waved his fist at Sun Jian, Li Mao and the others. Come on. Kai Zhongming and the others clenched their fists and responded. Without further delay, Lu Qing was about to leave his seat and go to the arena. At this time Xianxia bit her pink lips and suddenly shouted in a low voice, Qing? Yes? Lu Qing turned to look at his girlfriend in confusion. Xianxia's eyes were bright and firm. She slightly dodged and reached out her delicate hand to hold Lu Qing's finger. Then she pursed her lips and summoned up the courage to say, Darling, come on. In public, surrounded by a sea of spectators, behind and around her were the eyes and ears of her teammates of the martial arts club. Xianxia's pretty face was red with embarrassment, but she still finished the sentence without hesitation. As for whether she would be laughed at, whether it would be filmed, or whether there would be other effects, she didn't want to think about it and didn't care. At this time it was more important to support and encourage Qing. Lu Qing was surprised at first, then showed a surprised smile. He held her soft hand and nodded heavily with surging warmth. Without saying anything he turned around and walked to the arena. His right thumb rubbed the ring on his left palm. I'll do my best. On the way he saw Lin Kei walking towards him, gasping for breath. Lin Kei stopped in his tracks. His eyes were filled with the pain and unwillingness that Lu Qing remembered so deeply. Even though he lost to the powerful Peng Liyun, even though he had defeated Fang Zhirong, he still felt that he didn't do well enough and that he could do better. That kind of painful emotion rolled and burned in his usually deep eyes. Just when Lu Qing thought that his brother-in-law would say, I'm sorry, like he did when he beat up Wenxing's school, Lin Kei took the initiative to reach out and bumped fists with him. He said in a hoarse voice, Come on. Come on. Carry my pain and carry everyone's hope. Come on. Don't be affected by my emotions. Come on. Lu Qing exhaled and walked past Lin Quebec step by step. He approached the stone steps. His body was adjusting, his momentum was gathering, and his fighting spirit was rising. He hadn't fought with all his strength for more than 4 months. He was still not used to the feeling of bursting out to the extreme. Clap, clap. Muffled sounds kept coming out of his body, as if a machine that had not been used for a long time was removing rust, applying lubrication and adjusting accurately. When he ascended the arena and stood before Peng Liyun, his entire body's imposing aura erupted and was sharp like the edge of a weapon, and he didn't have the slightest bit of idleness and unfamiliarity. Lu Qing stared at Peng Liyun's smiling eyes and watched his leisurely starting posture. Lu Qing also got into his stance with his left hand low and his right hand high. Then let's fight. Then burn to your heart's content. The referee raised his right hand and was about to swing it down. In front of the computer screen, Brahmin unconsciously tightened her 2 braids and forgot about the snacks beside her. She couldn't care less about posting on the forum. She focused on her eyes and froze her nervousness. It's starting. I've been looking forward to this battle for more than 4 months. Unparalleled Dragon King posted a toast emoji in the live broadcast post of Lu Qing's fan forum. Big sister, it's about to begin. Boss, what a coincidence. Senior sister, you're finally here. In the office of the Martial Arts Club of Capital College, a group of people stared at the screen from the corner of their eyes and looked towards the door. They shouted, half cheered and half joked. Xinyu gasped for breath and smiled gently to the girl next to her. Ignore them and go in. Peng Liyun and Lu Qing are about to start the battle. The girl was of medium height with straight shoulder-length hair, a straight nose and big eyes. She looked like a real doll and didn't look dangerous at all. But who would have thought that she was Ren Li of Kongtong, who was on par with Peng Liyun? In response to the teasing of her team members, she smiled embarrassedly as she entered the door. I got lost again. Sorry to keep you waiting. Ha, Shaoli, I think I have no sense of direction. No, I'm not a sense of direction. I got lost because of you. Chen Digua, another leading player of Capital College, spread his hands and laughed. The cute girl, Jiang Kongchan, covered her mouth and giggled. Senior sister, I think you have the potential to be the heroine. If you go to the wrong hotel room one day and enter the room of the overbearing president, a romantic story will begin. Renly pulled a chair and sat down. She answered calmly, overbearing president? 1 punch is enough. If it doesn't work, 2 punches. While speaking, she looked at the screen and saw the referee's right hand waving down. In the stands, Yen Shaoling held her breath and forgot to take out the banner she brought, blow the trumpet and cheer. In the seats of the home team, Fang Zhirong covered his head with a white towel and didn't look at the match. Su Wanyin changed his cross-legged posture and prayed subconsciously. Junior brother Peng, don't leave that monster to me. In the seats of the away team, Xianxia, Lin Hua, and the others all stood up and looked at the ring nervously. No one sat down and no one spoke. Only Shi Jianghu was calm. After all, he was experienced and knowledgeable. Start. The referee finally waved down his right hand. Lu Qing felt the ground shake when the sound was still in his ears. Almost at the same time, he saw Peng Liyun appear in front of him with his clothes sticking close to his body. The flash attack movement was worthy of its reputation. Lu Qing didn't know how to deal with it until he met it face to face. He adjusted his muscles and visualized a mighty god with the head of a beast and the body of a human standing on a red dragon to suppress the violence of the flame in his body. He leaned forward, lowered his left hand, shook his wrist, and threw out a red flame that was moving close to the ground. The red flame contained a dangerous aura. It was the modified version of the 26th movement of the ice sect, ice burning, flame burning. The flame was close to the ground and quickly rushed to Peng Liyun. Once it touched the ground, it would immediately explode and spurt upward, burning everything in sight. At this moment, Peng Liyun stopped almost without inertia. His muscles and fascias bulged and rubbed against the air at high speed, creating an explosion. Bang! There seemed to be thunder on the ground. Strong wind swept around Peng Liyun and suddenly rolled up the flame, leading it to move in advance. Shangqingyu steps dipper step. Peng Liyun had practiced this footwork to the level of thunder and dipper step. With thunder and dipper step, he seemed to be able to communicate with the heaven and invite the gods. Boom! The ball of flame that Lu Qing had shaken out exploded and shot upward. It happened to be half a foot away from Peng Liyun, illuminating his face in flickering light. Of course, Lu Qing didn't think he could hurt the heavenly son of the era with one move. As soon as the flame burning was released, his body followed. The brutal blizzard didn't stop and didn't stop. In just this short exchange, the audience in front of the computer screen was stunned. A thought suddenly appeared in their minds. This was a little like a battle between physical invulnerability experts. It was like watching a battle between the Dragon King and the Warrior Sage. Fire and thunder, passion and ferocity. Chapter 334. After a moment of stunned silence, the bullet screen was flooded with all kinds of content, including the scene they had just seen. When did Lu Qing's supernatural ability of fire become so strong? He seems to have mastered some kind of fire force. That move should be the modified version of ice burning? Sure enough, a scholar who has been away for 3 days has to be looked at with new eyes. Tisk, that's awesome. This match is indeed worth looking forward to. Just as these exclamations appeared at the same time, there was a new change in the situation on the field. Lu Qing threw out flame burning and pounced forward. When the flame was ignited by Peng Liyun's dancing dipper invulnerability, it burned up without hitting the target and lit up their faces. In his mind, he visualized the magnificent scene of a surging river frozen for thousands of miles. It was a pure and natural scene. As soon as this scene appeared, his muscles, tendons, and internal organs changed accordingly. The cold current turned into a tide, surging violently. This was not the end. The frozen river painting flashed and the sky was pulled closer. Thunderclouds rolled and rumbled, spreading outward. Lu Qing transferred the force from his toes to his back. He shook out his right arm, which expanded into a stick, and swung it down. Thunder roar Zen, severe warning. This was not his modified move, but the original simplified version of physical invulnerability. After he entered the dance stage, his ability to control had improved substantially, and his spirit had also made a breakthrough. Besides, he had learned the swordsman formula and finally mastered the original severe warning. The stick swung down, deafening. The flames that leaped up between the two of them flickered and were quickly extinguished. Peng Liyun's eyes reflected Lu Qing's right fist that was rapidly smashing towards him. His eyes were filled with excitement. He made 2 visualizations in his mind and fixed them on a cyan jade talisman suspended in the void. This jade talisman was written with a few complicated characters. They looked like intertwining lightning lines sizzling with silvery white light. At the last moment, the lines suddenly became clear. Yin and Yang stimulated and overlapped with each other. This was a change exclusive to Peng Liyun. His eyes shone brightly, condensing into 2 electric balls. He straightened his body, every muscle in his body bulging with blood, as if he was the incarnation of the thunder god. Using his fists as a hammer, he swung them up fiercely to meet Lu Qing's roar. The 11th move of the Thunder Sect, a simplified unique skill of physical invulnerability, Thunder Seal. Bam! The 2 fists froze in midair and a gust of wind blew. Peng Liyun's eyes lost focus for a moment, as if he was lost in the fierce battle. A layer of white mist condensed on his arms and outside of his martial arts suit, and his hair was also dyed with frost. Lu Qing felt as if he had touched a dangerous power source with his bare hands. His whole body was numb, his ears were full of buzzing sounds and his hair stood on end. He lost control of his muscles and started to tremble. His internal organs seemed to be affected and were in disorder. Peng Liyun and Lu Qing stood there in a daze. The scene seemed to have been paused. The students and the audience in front of the computer screen were stunned. If the scene was not zoomed in, showing the frost on Peng Liyun's body and Lu Qing's hair, many people would have suspected that there was something wrong with their eyes or their internet connection. It was said that both Lu Qing and Peng Liyun had mastered simplified unique skills of physical invulnerability. Is this the result of a head-on collision? Who will recover first? Awesome. The younger generation will surpass us in time. The commentator Jianghu sighed. When he was at Lu Qing's age, he didn't have so many terrifying skills. No, not to mention now, even 5 or 10 years later, he still didn't master any simplified moves of physical invulnerability. I haven't seen Lu Qing's move, so I don't know what it is called. I can only guess that it is a combination of the Ice Sect Force and Tremor Punch. Peng Liyun's move is called Thunder Seal. Before the inhuman stage, if you don't have the supernatural ability of thunder, the effect of your move will be much weaker. But Peng Liyun made some changes and improved the power of his Thunder Seal. It is only a little weaker than the original version. What a genius. Zhang He explained to the audience. Peng Liyun was a pure martial artist without any supernatural ability. One of them was close to the inhuman stage and had a monstrous physical quality. The other had a powerful supernatural ability, and the simplified moves of physical invulnerability were even more powerful. In the end, they recovered from the stiffness almost at the same time. One of them regained the spirit in his eyes, and the other regained control of his muscles. Of course, almost didn't mean they were the same. Lu Qing had awakened his supernatural ability for the second time, practiced the swordsman formula internally, and practiced the dance stage. His physical quality had changed qualitatively. Although there was still a gap between him and Peng Liyun, it wasn't that much weaker. Lu Qing recovered earlier than Peng Liyun. He took a step forward and approached Peng Liyun. He bounced his hands and shook his elbows and wrists. Mental stimulation hit 7 spots on Peng Liyun's body before the move. He hid the strength of his fascia and muscles, waiting for the final moment when the direction of the attack was determined. At the same time, a glittering white light was ejected from Lu Qing's hands and spread around, turning into a frost fog made of ice crystals. Buzz buzz buzz. Every ice crystal was vibrating due to the vibrations, which interfered with Peng Liyun's hearing and caused him to feel a tingling sensation, which affected his absolute reaction. The white frost fog made him see things vaguely. The 13th move of the Ice Sect, Snow Cover. When a normal dance stage fighter of the Ice Sect used this move, it wouldn't be as magical as Lu Qing's. They could only influence the outside world with their force to lower the temperature, create fog and interfere with the enemy's judgment. They could only determine the real target of the attack at the last moment, which minimized the effect of absolute reaction. In other words, when the fighter felt the pain, he could only block the attack in a hurry because of the danger. This was a very complicated move. Lu Qing had practiced hard for more than 3 months before he could master it. In the frost fog, Lu Qing kept moving his hands, holding back his force. Suddenly, his hip muscles tightened and his right foot kicked out silently, aiming for Peng Liyun's ankle. Both of them were so close to each other that Peng Liyun's absolute reaction would almost land on him with this kick. In the vast snowy sky, the cold rises from the feet. This was the true meaning of snow cover. However, the changes between the feint and the real were never done step by step. When some Ice Sect fighters used this move, they would use the kick as the feint and the hand as the real, making it impossible to guard against. However, before Lu Qing's right foot kicked out, Peng Liyun had already straightened his tailbone and was about to direct the force to his leg. He seemed to have sensed the malice coming from under his foot. Bam! Lu Qing's low kick was followed by his left foot, as if they had practiced it thousands of times. He also shook his right arm and stabbed forward like a big spear. Bam! Lu Qing was much weaker than Peng Liyun in terms of strength. His right foot was kicked back and his whole body leaned forward involuntarily. It seemed that he was about to stumble and fall towards Peng Liyun, colliding with the spear in his right arm. At the critical moment, Lu Qing quickly moved his spine and changed his center of gravity like Mercury. He forcibly maintained his balance and circulated his qi and blood, using force concentration on his lower abdomen to deal with the fierce attack of his opponent who had lost the initiative. Peng Liyun's eyes were still shining. He looked very excited. His qi, blood, force, spirit, and all kinds of feelings were condensed into one point, driving his right arm to swing back. Bam! Their dantian qi gushed out. One of them swung his right fist upward like a god holding a thunder hammer. The other tightened the muscles on his elbows, wrists, and other parts of his body. He pulled back his arm and shot out a fist with bulging veins like a bow. Bam! Every punch landed on their flesh, causing the greenish-black color to wriggle. Their muscles, bones, veins, and blood vessels all had a slight deformation. The deep sound awakened the ancient factors hidden in the audience's body, causing them to secrete adrenaline and their blood to boil. Crack! A spider web appeared under Lu Cheng's feet. Lu Cheng was a little slower, so he shook his body and took a step back. Peng Liyun followed him forward, making a strange visualization in his mind. He raised both of his fists and punched out continuously. It was so fast that it was like a machine gun was firing. Modern Xingyi machine fist. Bam, 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 bam. The audience heard the sound of Peng Liyun's fascia contracting and stretching, and the opening and closing of his joints, as if there was a machine running coldly and continuously. Bam, bam. This. Li Mao and others saw that Peng Liyun's fists were almost leaving afterimages. They felt that if they were in Lu Cheng's position, they would not be able to keep up with the machine fist shooting, even if they were defending from the inside and needed less distance to move. Lin Kei's eyes deepened and he clenched his fists as he stared at the ring. It was as if he had just seen the heavenly Son of Heaven clearly. He felt that every sound was knocking on his heart. Yanzhika forgot to breathe. Her heart was hanging, and a thin layer of sweat was secreted into her clenched fists. However, she was not as panicked as the others. Brahmin and Yan Shaoling also held their breaths, praying silently. Machine fist. The guest commentator Zhang He shouted the name of Peng Liyun's kung fu. In modern Xingyi, gunfinger and catapult body movements were the simplest. Blast punch was slightly more difficult, and machine fist required almost sixth-pin controllability and reaction speed to master. Once used, the fist was as fast as a torrent of bullets, making the opponent unable to keep up with the rhythm. The opponent could block a few but not dozens or hundreds. Zhang He looked at the screen and quickly reminded the audience, "Don't pay attention to the hand. Look at Peng Liyun's footwork." If the machine fist didn't change and only hit the same spot, the opponent in a defensive state could simply wave his arms to parry. Since there was no need to think and the movement distance was very short, the opponent could keep up with the rhythm and defend steadily. Therefore, the essence of machine fist was not the fist but the feet. Through the coordination of footwork, the target of the attack could be changed intermittently, making the opponent unable to react and be hit by the strafing shot. Just as Zhang He finished his words, he suddenly frowned with a look of surprise and said, "Eh? Why could Lu Cheng still keep up with Peng Liyun after changing the attacking position 3 times? The two of them had a tacit understanding as if they had fought dozens or hundreds of times." Unparalleled Dragon King also noticed that something was wrong. Lu Cheng's heart turned into ice and turned into a crystal-clear mirror, reflecting the clear scene within a 1-meter radius. In this scene he could see the general changes in Peng Liyun's muscles and the preparation before the step. This allowed him to judge in advance and respond accordingly. Ice Mirror was the most difficult unique skill of the Ice sect for those below the physical invulnerability stage. Lu Cheng formed a Dan with a combination of essence, qi, spirit and willpower, and mixed with a little premonition of the Jin Dan, he was only 1 step away from the entry level of Ice Mirror. With the combination of forwarding formula and swordsman formula, he finally entered the entry level a month ago and was now firmly in the initial level. It was because of this that he was able to defend himself from Peng Liyun's machine god fist, that was infused with thunder and lightning, not scattering or panicking. Bam 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 bam. Bam 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 bam. The sounds were continuous and seemingly uninterrupted. Lu Cheng always reacted in advance, either quickly swinging his arm, swinging his wrist or flicking his 5 fingers. With the smooth and transparent nature of the force around him, his defense was watertight. However, his strength was not as good as Peng Liyun's. After blocking a few moves, he had to take a step back to relieve the pressure. As a result, it seemed that he was being forced back by machine fist step by step. However, during this process, Lu Cheng's steps were curved, not straight lines so as to avoid falling off the arena. One's attack was exaggerated and fierce, while the other's defense was steady and amazing. The audience in the arena and in front of the computer couldn't help but change their posture and move their bodies. It seemed that they couldn't wait to jump up and throw a few punches to vent their excitement. "He's too strong. He's not human. Wang He, no, Peng Liyun, he's not human. Even if he's an iron plate, he'd probably be smashed into pieces. Lu Qing is pretty good too. I'm almost dizzy, but he's still so steady in his defense. Yeah, he doesn't show any signs of losing. He really lives up to his reputation. After countless punches, just when Lu Qing felt that he couldn't take it anymore, Peng Liyun finally caught his breath. He stopped the machine fist move and his abdomen expanded and contracted. Chance. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Lu Qing took a step back and dissolved the accumulated pressure. In his mind he outlined a sharp ancient character. Ignoring the pain in his arms and fists, he raised his hands to make a gesture and solemnly said in a low voice, Army. Army formula, a secret spiritual technique. His voice reverberated in the surroundings. The atmosphere suddenly became desperate. Peng Liyun felt like he was trapped in an army of tens of thousands. His ears were filled with murderous shouts, his feet were trembling because of thousands of galloping horses, and his body was filled with iron-blooded killing intent. He was surrounded by enemies and he felt like he was surrounded by enemies. His mind was in a mess and his body involuntarily trembled. He hurriedly visualized the scene of yin and yang clashing and bursting out thunderbolts in his mind. Boom. The thunderbolts burst out and turned into a solemn and condescending god. A sense of extreme yang filled the surroundings, dispelling the killing intent and dispersing the weapons. The unique skill of the Thunder sect, specialized in eliminating external evil. Boom. Lu Qing was hit by the spiritual counterattack. His mind kept buzzing. He seemed to have turned into a ghost in the midst of lightning and thunder. His body trembled as if he would vanish at any time. The ice mirror in his heart lake flashed and a crack appeared. At this moment he outlined a large character in his mind. He made a gesture in front of his chest with one hand and pressed on his dantian with the other. Forward. A deep sound surrounded him. Lu Qing seemed to have spat out all the fear in his heart. Good. Peng Liyun pressed and swung his waist and naturally used force concentration. He displayed the heavenly punishment hammer, one of the 24 hammering techniques of the Thunder sect. He swung his right arm and hit Lu Qing from above, not giving him any chance to dodge. The heavenly punishment of thunder had its own vibration. Lu Qing followed suit and poured his strength into his right arm. His flesh didn't swell but tightened instead. He swung his fist upwards without any hesitation. Skyward punch. Boom. In the arena, the sound of an explosion suddenly sounded. The shockwave rolled out in all directions with their fists as the center. Lu Qing's feet almost sank into the ground, but because of this, the surrounding area cracked and damaged his shoes. He had to shake his body and was about to retreat. Suddenly, he took a deep breath and condensed the influence of the rolling qi and blood and the vibration at one point. He steadied his center of gravity, borrowed strength, and pulled out his left leg tightly. Double explosion, mega avalanche. Peng Liyun did the same. He exploded his Dan force again and kicked out his leg as fast as lightning. Bang, bang, bang. Lu Qing incorporated the brutal blizzard into the continuous explosion and shook Zen frequently tit for tat with Peng Liyun. Triple explosion, quadruple explosion, quintuple explosion, and sextuple explosion. The place where they fought was full of wind and waves. Debris splashed everywhere and kept making the sound of explosions. 7 explosion, 8 explosion, 9 explosion, and 10 explosion. Lu Qing was forced to retreat continuously, but the frequency was getting lower and lower. With the help of the 24 blizzard strikes, he was gradually able to fight evenly with Peng Liyun. Peng Liyun, on the other hand, was getting fiercer and fiercer. There was no sign of weakness at all. The area where they were fighting fiercely was trampled into obvious pits and filled with smoke and dust. Bang, bang, bang. Every collision sound was like a bomb falling and exploding in the hearts of Xuanhuan and others. Fang Zhirong couldn't help but tear off the white towel on his head and stare at the arena in a daze. Awesome, awesome. The bullet screen was full of similar cries. Damn it, Lu Qing can keep up with the 10 explosion? This is the highest level competition below the inhuman level, right? I want to find someone to fight with. Ask a girl to get out of here, no, fight with me. Bang. Lu Qing's martial arts shoes were completely broken and turned into butterflies flying around. Peng Liyun's martial arts shoes were broken inch by inch and opened silently. One of them hit the other with a backhand, and the other with a fist to the chest, and each made 11 explosion. After entering the Dan stage, Lu Qing could make 5 explosion without relying on the Jindan. After 2 awakenings of supernatural ability, practicing the Dan stage kung fu, and practicing the swordsman formula, he had already broken through the limits of the human body. His physical quality had more than doubled. Without the Jindan he could make 12 explosion. Peng Liyun could make 10 explosion when he fought with Renli in the first half of the year, not to mention now that he was close to the inhuman level. He could be called a monster. Just based on this, they were able to firmly suppress Fang Zhirong's group. Bang! The bright white fist collided with the dark blue fist. Lu Cheng felt that Peng Liyun's strength was stronger than before, so he couldn't help but take 2 steps back, leaving a dent in the ground. Peng Liyun staggered a few times and didn't attack in time. After this, the two finally separated and took a break. The internal training dissolved the remaining effect of the tremor punch, which interrupted the crazy continuous explosion. They had just made force concentration one after another, so their physical condition hadn't recovered completely. When the fight was interrupted, the audience in the stands burst into thunderous roars and cheers. Xianxia and the others finally breathed a long sigh of relief. Some were happy, some were relieved, some were shocked, and some were shocked. Week 6 Pin. In the office of the Martial Arts Club of Capital College, Renli looked at the projection and said these 3 words. Week 6 Pin? Xinyu, Jiang Kongchan and the others knew that Morning Star was talking about Lu Cheng. They couldn't help but look at each other and recall the fight just now. Lu Cheng improved from a week 7th pin to a week 6th pin in more than 4 months? Isn't this too exaggerated? Is there any justice in this world? What's more terrible is that Peng Liyun didn't leave any chance for his opponent. What level is he at? In the arena, Lu Cheng had the same idea. He even felt a little desperate. He had done his best, but Peng Liyun was still at ease. It seemed that no matter how he fought, Peng Liyun had a way and a trump card to deal with him. There was no chance for him to win. Lu Cheng recalled that there were several times when he didn't need to fight head-on with him, such as when they exchanged simplified physical invulnerability moves. But he did so, unlike when he fought with Renli in April, when he would dodge and contend. In other words, he had enough confidence and strength to deal with unexpected situations. This was not because Peng Liyun underestimated his opponent, but because when the opportunity was right as a martial arts fanatic, he was more willing to experience his opponent's unique skill. Of course, this also fully showed that he was at ease. Maybe I can take advantage of his psychological inertia. Lu Cheng took a breath and rushed forward again, intending to use the double-edged sword move. In his mind, he visualized the frozen river, the solidified waves and the scorching red sun in the sky. The sun fell from the sky and cut through the sky, causing the corresponding part of Lu Cheng's body to change and hit the ice hard. This was Lu Cheng's mutated version of severe warning. This time, the balance of the supernatural abilities of ice and fire would produce a different effect. It would hurt both the enemy and himself. Bam! Lu Cheng's back muscles bulged and shook. He swung his right arm and punched downwards. Peng Liyun had long been excited. He outlined the green thunder and silver lightning in his mind and let them bombard the ground, bursting into golden flames. The 15th move of the Thunder Sect, simplified physical invulnerability move, Thunderbolt Fire. It was a simplified version of the unique physical invulnerability move Heaven Golden Fire. Simplifying it even more, it was the lightning and fire stance that could create a short burst of power. Peng Liyun put his feet inward and bulged his muscles. He became a little taller and majestically raised the fire to burn the sky. He clenched his fist and rushed up. Boom! Ice and fire collided and canceled each other out. They quickly condensed into a small dot and a vortex around Lu Cheng's fist. It absorbed and swallowed Peng Liyun's burning and paralyzing force. Peng Liyun's fist was stuck to Lu Cheng's hand and couldn't pull it away. Boom! The vortex lost its balance under the influence of the external force and exploded outward, throwing out a fierce force. Thump! 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 This was the first time Peng Liyun was beaten back by Lu Cheng. His body swayed, his spirit dimmed, and his mind was shaken. Lu Cheng endured the backlash of the explosion and took a step forward. He caught up with Peng Liyun and hit him with both hands. In this state he couldn't do force concentration. With the absolute reaction, Peng Liyun's body shook and he regained his focus. He quickly gathered his Dan and raised his arms in front of him. At this moment, Lu Cheng's arm tendons bounced and retracted. He took a step and went behind Peng Liyun. He lowered his hands, one hook followed by the other. The crystal white cold light and the dangerous red flame hit Peng Liyun close to the ground. Burning ice and flame. At the same time, Lu Cheng's hands moved up and clasped each other. He tightened the corresponding muscles and hammered from the top right to the bottom left like a mountain-splitting giant, blocking Peng Liyun's escape route. This was the 19th move of the Ice Sect, Cold Devour. The cold came from all directions. At this moment, Lu Cheng felt that he had seen Peng Liyun's limit for the first time and that he had a chance to defeat him. Suddenly, Peng Liyun's body began to emit the sound of a turbine being turned on. Yin and yang clashed and the electricity generated magnetism. A terrifying repulsive force erupted, slowing down the descent of the mountain-shattering quake, as well as the speed of the cold light in the flames. Bam! Before the mountain smash punch fell, Peng Liyun jumped up and let the burning ice and flames slide under his feet. They exploded in the distance and filled the air with white fog. The light in his eyes turned into lightning and gathered into a ball. At the same time he bent his arm and hit Lu Cheng's fist with his elbow. The thunder seal in his mind floated in the void, with sparks flying everywhere. Bam! Lu Cheng, who was affected by the double-edged sword, couldn't react in time and was hit by the fist. He felt a strong sense of numbness entering his body. His hair stood on end and his heart seemed to have stopped beating. His internal organs were hurt and he obviously suffered internal injuries. When he recovered, Peng Liyun had turned around and his fist stopped in between his eyebrows. The god's favored one was panting heavily, sweat dripping from his forehead. He was no longer at ease like before. But the referee also raised his right hand and announced the result. Round 3, Peng Liyun wins. Lu Cheng was in a trance and seemed to be affected by the electric force. Peng Liyun is really good. He bitterly closed his eyes. Chapter 335. As expected of Peng Liyun. When Lu Cheng finally saw the light of victory, he was instantly turned around and ushered in the arrival of failure. Strong depression filled Lu Cheng's heart. If he had not held on to hope, he would not be so upset and self-reproach now. How pure the joy was just now was how painful the pain was now. More than 4 months of patience, more than 4 months of bitter training, more than 4 months of anticipation. In the end, all came to naught and turned into flowing water. What a joke. I had promised Ku that I would teach Peng Liyun an unforgettable lesson together with Lin Quebec. I wanted to suppress his willpower, affect his confidence in winning, and slow down his speed of breaking through to the inhuman stage. I wanted to preserve my hope for next year's finals. But now I had been slapped in the face. I didn't have the face to face my parents anymore. Perhaps it was fortunate that I was a low-key person and had only said such words in front of Ku. Otherwise, who knew how much ridicule and sarcasm would have come from all directions. If I had been the first to fight, defeated Fang Zhirong with the advantage of the wrong position, and challenged Peng Liyun in peak condition, my brother-in-law would have had a chance to defeat this monster, right? If I had not been so anxious just now, not been scared by Peng Liyun's ease, not hurried to use the variant version of severe warning, and not relied on my abnormal physical strength and the replenishment of Jindan to grind for a while, would things have been different? When a person encountered a setback, it was hard to restrain himself from thinking that if he had made a different choice at that time, or if he had done better in some details, the result would have been different. Lu Cheng was no exception. But the more he thought about it, the more upset and painful he felt, and even a little bit angry at himself. Taking a breath, he visualized the ice mirror and put away all his thoughts. Lu Cheng nodded to Peng Liyun, who was gasping for breath, and turned around, walking towards the stone steps. His muscles were still trembling, his internal organs were extremely uncomfortable, and there was a salty taste of rust in his throat, as if he was preparing to spit out blood. Not only did he lose, but he also suffered a serious internal injury. Lu Cheng sighed secretly and shook his head bitterly. At this moment, the Shanbei students in the stands suddenly started to applaud, from sparse to enthusiastic, from noisy to orderly, for the wonderful fight just now, and also for the admirable opponent Lu Cheng. You walked out of the arena with your head held high. As the applause echoed, Yan Shaoling suddenly burst into tears. She was moved by everyone's recognition of Lu Cheng, but she was also sad about the previous loss. Lu Cheng had played so well, so why did they let him lose? The cruelty of a match was that most of the time, and in this match the winner was Peng Liyun. Listening to his opponent's applause, Lu Cheng exhaled a sigh of relief, but the depression and pain in his heart. Halfway through their journey they met Li Mao. He forced a smile, extended his right hand and high-fived Li Mao. Really? Maybe he's already at his limit and wants me to take advantage of him? Do your best. Lu Cheng didn't say much. He nodded and walked past Li Mao to the seats. Yan Zhika, dressed in white, walked up to him. The girl's eyes were a little red. She bit her lower lip and said firmly, "You fought very well. Even if you lost, I'm proud of you." If it were others, Lu Cheng wouldn't be in the mood to respond. But he couldn't treat Coach Yan like that. He smiled bitterly and said, "I hope next time you can say you fought very well, or you are so good." You fought very well meant that you lost the battle but made a respectable performance. You fought very well meant that you won the match to your heart's content. Yes. Xianxia nodded hard. She knew that Lu Qing didn't want to hear comforting words, so she reached out and held his palm, silently trying to pass her warmth to him. If someone shared the pain, would it be less painful? Xianxia supported Lu Qing to sit down, lost in thought. Listening to the applause from the computer, Chu Hui, who was wearing a tuxedo and a top hat, turned pale. He was no longer in high spirits at the beginning. Are these two guys still King human? If it was Peng Liyun, I could accept it. He had been strong for more than 2 years. It was not unacceptable that he became a monster who was close to the inhuman level. Anyway, I was used to losing to him. I didn't even think about winning against Shanbei. However, it had only been 4 months. How did Lu Qing become so powerful that people could only look up at him? How did he suddenly become so strong? I thought he had a chance to defeat me. How can I fight him? How can I fight next week? Chu Hui turned his head and looked at Luo Hei's xianxia and the other team members. He saw that they were all scared. Some were dull, some were confused, and some were trembling. The gap is so big that I don't want to catch up. Chu Hui looked back painfully and saw the close-up of Lu Qing. He noticed that something was wrong with him. He was suddenly happy and blurted out, "Lu Qing is injured." And it was not the kind of injury that could be healed quickly. I knew very well how terrible Peng Liyun's Thunder Force combined with a simplified physical invulnerability move was. I had been hit by it without any protection and had to recuperate for nearly 2 months. Lu Qing's physical quality was much better than mine. But Peng Liyun was not what he used to be. Without half a month's rest, Lu Qing would not be able to recover. Lu Qing is injured? Luo Hei's xianxia and the others were startled and asked with hidden joy. Yes. Look at his current state. Pay attention to the replay later. See if he was hit directly by Peng Liyun's Thunder Seal. Chu Hui felt lucky and ecstatic as if he had just escaped from death. And Lin Ke was also hit by Dark Poison Force. He probably won't be able to fight in his best state next week. I don't know what they are thinking. They clearly know that there is a big gap between them and Shanbei. Why do they still fight so hard? Isn't it convenient for us? I think we should pay tribute to their martial arts spirit and then enjoy this gift. In the midst of the ridicule, the Martial Arts Club of Sanjiang College confirmed Lu Qing's situation through the slow-motion replay. They immediately released their accumulated depression and fear and became excited again. Our chance has come. Thank Lu Qing and Lin Ke for their martial arts spirit and hard work. In the office of the Martial Arts Club of Capital College, Chindigua, Xinyu, Jiang Kongchan and the others were staring at the projection blankly, forgetting to speak and forgetting other things. The atmosphere was strangely quiet. For a moment they thought Peng Liyun would lose. But unexpectedly Lu Qing, who had fought to such an extent, still failed to defeat the god's favored one. After dozens of seconds, Chindigua broke the silence with a wry smile. Shaoli, what level do you think Peng Liyun has reached? Renli pondered and answered, he is 1 step away from the inhuman stage. 1 step away from the inhuman stage. Xinyu, Jiang Kongchan and the others chewed on these words, feeling lost and awed. Renli's naturally hanging hands unconsciously clenched into fists. In front of the computer screen, Brahmin let go of her hands that were pulling her braid, letting a few crystal-clear teardrops slide down her face and fall to the floor. She clicked open the forum and posted a post. Oh. Why, he fought so well, why did you let him lose? Rub your head, it's good enough for him to fight like this, much better than I expected. I thought Lu Qing would at most be at the level of a strong 7th, so I was afraid that he would lose to Peng Liyun, which would affect his confidence. Unparalleled Dragon King comforted Brahmin. 55555, I won't listen, I just want him to win. My heart aches when I see him like this. Brahmin sent a covering ears and shaking head emoji. Nyechichi also sent a crying face emoji. I know it's good enough for him to fight with Peng Liyun like this. No, it's very good, but I can't help but feel sad. Woo. You girls, why are you all so fragile? Do you need the uncle to comfort you? You don't care about your heart, but your kidneys. Okamoto's fan joked and then sighed. I won't say any more, I can't make it up anymore, I'm going to smoke a cigarette to calm down. Hey, think about the gap between Lu Qing and Peng Liyun half a year ago, and look at the gap now. You should be able to let it go, right? Road to the Arena said. Damn, Lu Qing lost to Peng Liyun, who is at least a level stronger than him, and you are all so sad. When I was defeated by him, who had no rank, should I have jumped off a building? Fortunately, Lu Qing has been advancing by leaps and bounds, so losing to him has become an interesting topic, not a disgrace. At this time, many cats suddenly replied, we know rationally that you are right, but we still cry out loud. In the live broadcast room of the video website, the guest commentator Xianxia sighed with emotion. Wonderful. Wonderful. This match makes me want to move my old arms and legs. Lu Qing is strong, Peng Liyun is stronger, the younger generation will surpass us in time. The host echoed, yeah, I didn't expect Lu Qing to push Peng Liyun to this point. It seems that he is reaching his limit. Reaching his limit? No, Peng Liyun is just a little overloaded for a short time, but it doesn't mean that he has no strength to fight anymore. Hey, if Lu Qing hadn't fought hard at the end, maybe we wouldn't have seen him in his overloaded state. Zhang he couldn't help but sigh. At the stage where you're advancing by leaps and bounds, at the age where you're at your most high-spirited, it's very sad and regrettable to meet such an opponent who can firmly suppress you. You mean Peng Liyun is stronger than what he showed just now? The host was stunned. Zhang Hejing nodded slightly and said, he is enjoying the match, not trying to win. I don't need to say more about the difference between the two, right? In other words, Peng Liyun is the strongest at the last moment? The host suddenly realized and asked. You can say that. Zhang Hejing sighed. Is this the god's favored son who aims to reach physical invulnerability? When I was at the peak of 6th pin I was not so strong. While they were talking, the bullet screen refreshed one by one. It seemed that no one was paying attention to the battle between Li Mao and Peng Liyun. I have to say that Lu Qing is really strong. He can fight with Peng Liyun to this extent after only practicing martial arts for more than a year. I'm on my knees watching. He is so tough that no one has a friend. He is indeed a candidate for the god's favored son, and he is more promising than others. After many positive affirmations of Lu Qing, someone looked into the future and said, I can't imagine what level Lu Qing will reach in half a year or a year. Will he be able to surpass Peng Liyun? This sentence suddenly stirred up a hornet's nest and attracted a group of people to attack. Surpass Lu Zai? Ah, what a joke. As if Lu Zai won't improve? He will enter the inhuman level soon. How can a guy who relies on his supernatural ability and ancestral chromosomes be compared with Peng Liyun? Didn't you listen to the commentary? Just now Lu Zai didn't use his full strength at all. Well, he didn't use his full strength and he fell down. Tisk tsk, if you have the ability to fight again, Peng Liyun just had a few moves with Lin Quebec. If it's a one-on-one battle, Lu Qing will be beaten to a pulp. Are you done yet? I'm just speculating based on the facts. Lu Qing has improved from an ordinary person to a fighter close to professional 6th pin or even weaker than professional 6th pin after practicing martial arts for 1 year and 2 months. Give him another half a year or a year, who knows how far he can go. Haha, I'm not laughing at him. Such a large span of improvement never lasts too long, and the higher he goes, the more difficult it is. Lu Qing's speed of improvement will inevitably slow down. If he can enter the inhuman level within a year, I will live broadcast eating sh*t. Yes, Lu Qing is very powerful and a genius, but if you want to compare with Peng Liyun, then I will answer you with a line from a comic. Trash, you are not good enough. Go to hell and eat sh*t. I wonder if Lu Qing will lose confidence after being beaten by Lu Zai. Just now I found that he was desperate. And a fighter without confidence is a salted fish, and it is difficult for him to improve again. The argument on the internet was very fierce. After the game, I wanted to see the bullet screen to see how they praised Lu Qing's Brahmin. So hateful. I want to beat them. I want to quarrel with them. On the live arena, the battle between Li Mao and Peng Liyun had begun. The latter did not turn away directly and left the opportunity of actual combat to xuanhuan. Instead, he gave the greatest respect to his opponent, adjusted his breath, took a stance and let him attack. This was the most hardy game Li Mao had ever played. 24 blizzard strikes, was one move after another. The more he fought, the fiercer and crazier he became. There was almost no stagnation and no pause. Bang! He threw the most powerful punch he had ever thrown since he started practicing martial arts. He felt an incomparable sense of comfort. Peng Liyun swung his waist and abdomen and raised his arms to block accurately, not moving an inch. Li Mao was about to attack again, but suddenly he felt that his body was empty and had no strength to continue. Unconsciously, he had finished one round of 24 blizzard strikes. Looking at Peng Liyun, who was panting in front of him, Li Mao laughed at himself and said, "Thank you. Thank you for your help." After that, he turned and walked out of the arena without waiting for the referee's announcement. He sighed slightly without regret or loss. The referee raised his right hand and said, "Round 4, Peng Liyun wins. Shanbei University wins this game." In the home team's seats, xuanhuan waved his fist happily, feeling that he had escaped a disaster and did not have to face the monster who could bounce back, Corvine mouth. Fang Zhirong's eyes were gloomy and not very happy. He was brooding about his loss to Lin Quebec. On the other side of Songqing University, when Li Mao came back, they high-fived each other and returned to the locker room in silence. Lu Qing, who was holding Xianxika's hand, turned around subconsciously and looked at the arena. He saw Peng Liyun standing there applauding to the crowd. The lights fell and covered him with a layer of golden brilliance. Lu Qing withdrew his gaze, closed his eyes and entered the locker room. On the way back, the members of the martial arts club were silent. Kai Zhongming wanted to break the silence several times, but when the words came to his mouth, he was not in the mood to say them. Mu Jinyan and Yen Shaoling sat in the back row, looking at the silent Lin Quebec. They felt sorry for him and wanted to say something to comfort him, but in the end they did not do so. Lu Qing and Xianxika snuggled up to each other. Smelling the familiar fragrance and feeling the warmth that made them relax, they calmed down a lot and slowly got over it. Look, many people on the internet are praising you. Xianxika happened to read some comments on Weibo and saw the praise at the beginning. She quickly handed the phone to Lu Qing with an expression that said, "Praise me." Lu Qing read the comments one by one. Seeing that everyone was praising his strength and admiring the brilliance of the previous matches, a smile gradually appeared on his face. Xianxika also moved her head closer to him and read the comments together with him. From time to time she slightly raised her white and delicate chin, revealing a sense of pride. But when Lu Qing turned to the section where he compared himself with Peng Liyun, he found all kinds of ridicule, such as relying on supernatural ability and ancestral chromosomes, losing confidence after being beaten, and not enough, and a candidate is just a candidate. His temples twitched and his heart was filled with anger. He wanted to prove something, wanted to argue about right and wrong, but sadly found that the loser had no excuse. Only victory could counterattack everything. Xianxika bit her lips tightly, and her clear eyes were burning with anger, which made her look even brighter. She suppressed her anger and did not want to infect her boyfriend with this emotion. She reached out her finger to stop the discussion and pretended to be rational. Qing, don't care about them. Some people are just bad for the sake of being bad. Okay. Lu Qing wanted to turn around and comfort Coach Yen, but suddenly saw a long Weibo post from all-knowing man in Ganghood, a well-known martial arts influencer. This defeat has more advantages than disadvantages for Lu Qing. Huh. Why did he say that? Not only Lu Qing but also Xianxika was quite curious and quickly clicked to read. It is foreseeable that Lu Qing will enter a period of slow improvement. Why do I say that? Everyone can see that every time Lu Qing's strength rises, it is accompanied by the awakening of supernatural ability. It is obvious that the awakening of supernatural ability will greatly improve the quality of the body. Of course, the premise is that there is no obstacle in the realm. That is to say, if one does not enter the Dan stage, the strength of the body will not change qualitatively even if the supernatural ability is awakened. Lu Qing had the strength of a quasi-7th fighter when he just entered the Dan stage. He relied on his abnormal physical strength and the practice of the Frost Force in advance. He improved from a quasi-7th fighter to a weak 6th fighter in a little more than 4 months because of the second awakening of the dual supernatural abilities of Ice and Fire and the honeymoon period, when he formally entered the Dan stage. Now, this period has passed, and we all know that the awakening of supernatural ability is more difficult than the previous one. Lu Qing will not have this kind of bonus in 1 or 2 years. In this way, it is foreseeable that the speed of improvement of his strength will slow down. By April next year he can expect to improve from a weak 6th fighter to an ordinary 6th fighter after he has mastered more Ice Sect moves and related combat experience. The gap between him and Peng Liyun will be further widened. And this speed will accompany him for a long time. Whether he can enter the inhuman level without relying on the awakening of supernatural ability within 2 years will be the test of whether he can be considered a heavenly son of the age. This complete defeat came at the right time so that he will not be arrogant. He can clearly understand the gap between himself and Peng Liyun and the fact that he may not be able to catch up in a few years. The advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Maybe this is a wake-up call? This Weibo post seemed to be speaking from Lu Qing's point of view, but the whole post was full of condescension and sinister thoughts that Lu Qing relied on the awakening of supernatural ability to improve by leaps and bounds. In other words, it was implying that Lu Qing was not as good as Peng Liyun and that he would have to get used to mediocrity and depression. Xianxika gritted her teeth and quietly clenched her fists. This person is talking nonsense. Qing, don't pay attention to him. Okay. Lu Qing exhaled. In fact, all-knowing man in Ganghood was right about some things. The benefits of his rapid improvement were indeed running out. The awakening of supernatural ability was not something that could be considered at this stage. The changes to the body caused by the practice of dance stage were getting weaker and weaker. It was entering the stage where it needed to be accumulated over time. Only the internal practice of the swordsman formula could be looked forward to. Because of this, he became angrier and angrier about this comment because he could not refute it. Looking at his expression, xianxia pursed her lips and rolled her eyes as if she was thinking about something. When they returned to the new campus of Songqing University, the sky was already dark. They waved to each other and said goodbye in low spirits. Mu Jinyan could not control her footsteps and followed Lin Quebec looking at his silent back. She kept thinking of comforting him. No, I know Lin K won't want to be comforted. She restrained herself and stayed 2 steps behind Lin K to accompany him. When they were approaching the 9th dormitory, Lin K suddenly stopped and turned to look at Mu Jinyan. Do you have a pen and paper? Ah. Mu Jinyan was stunned. He is talking to me? He is talking to me for the first time. He knows I want an autograph? She came to her senses and hurriedly took off her backpack. She took out a pen and a sticky note and handed them to Lin Quebec. Lin K did not say anything and quickly wrote a line of words. Thank you for not comforting me. Thank you for not comforting me. Mu Jinyan took back the sticky note and saw Lin K turn around and walk into the dormitory. His eyes were painful but his back was straight. I will always support you. Mu Jinyan shouted, no longer caring about other people's opinions. Lu Qing was pulled to the lakeside by xianxia. They passed through the woods and came to the deserted western district. What are we doing here? He could not help but ask. Follow me. Xianxia had never been here before. She only came here when she was abducted by Lu Qing. But she noticed something around with her girl's special attention and sensitivity. She took Lu Qing to an unfinished building. She pointed up and said, let's go to the roof. I want to feel the breeze. This building was planned to be the library of the new campus. It would replace the temporary one and become the largest library in the province and one of the best in the country. Okay. Lu Qing understood that the girl wanted him to see the distance and feel the cool breeze. So he did not refuse. Along the stairs they walked slowly. After a long time they finally came to the top and saw the scenery without guardrails. Looking down from above, the eastern district was brightly lit. The lake reflected the light. The scenery was so charming and refreshing. Lu Qing's depression in his heart seemed to be relieved. Let's sit on the side. Xianxia suggested. She was not afraid of heights at all. Lu Qing took the tissue and spread it on the edge. He sat down with the girl leaning against each other. They breathed in the cool breeze and looked at the open sky. Suddenly Xianxia looked ahead and said, Qing, do you remember I sang for you? Yes, you were cheering for me. Lu Qing smiled. Xianxia pursed her lips into a smile and said gently, then I'll sing for you again. Without waiting for Lu Qing to answer, she faced the open sky and hummed softly, running forward, facing the cold eyes and ridicule. How can you feel the vastness of life without suffering? Fate can't make us kneel and beg for mercy even if blood is spilled all over our arms. The girl's clear and melodious voice echoed in his ears. In front of him was a vast expanse of land that stretched as far as the eye could see. It was the Milky Way that flowed in the darkness. It was her black hair that fluttered in the wind. For a moment Lu Qing actually felt a little drunk. His emotions gradually emptied and his heart gained strength again. Failure was not terrible. What was terrible was losing the will to fight and confidence. Then keep running forward, facing the cold eyes and ridicule. Keep running, with the pride of a newborn. How can you see the brilliance of life without persevering to the end instead of lingering at death's door? Why not burn heartily? One day it will sprout again. The song lingered in the air. Chapter 336. The cold wind was blowing and the night was quiet. Looking at Xianxia, who had just finished singing, Lu Qing felt relaxed and calm. His gloominess had completely faded away. She took a deep breath and glanced at him. She raised her chin and hummed deliberately, my singing was not bad, right? Her 2 feet dangled outside the building, swaying lightly and playfully. Not only was it not bad. Lu Qing laughed and reached out to hold Xianxia's waist, letting her lean her head on his shoulder. He looked at the Weishui lake in the distance and said with a bit of self-mockery, people will always be greedy little by little. At first, I didn't have much confidence in defeating Peng Liyun. Although I said that in front of you, I was actually quite nervous. I thought that not only should I join hands with your brother, but also the effect of the second awakening of the supernatural ability of fire was not worse than expected. I also hoped that we could face Peng Liyun in our best condition and just try our best to beat him. I didn't expect to beat Shan Bei in the end. However, as the second awakening of the supernatural ability of fire brought about an obvious improvement, and as my dance stage cultivation progressed by leaps and bounds, I gradually gained confidence. I was no longer satisfied with my previous thoughts, and I no longer felt that overthrowing Shanbei was an impossible task. When I obtained the Zhe formula, the army formula, and the Qian formula, and mastered them quickly, I became even more ambitious. I felt that I could compete with Peng Liyun. I knew that I was definitely weaker than him, but I no longer thought that this gap was insurmountable. I was able to defeat Zhang Zhutong and Han Zhifei in the past. Now I have the hope to defeat Peng Liyun. Don't laugh. I did think so before. Even though your brother fought hard with Fang Zhirong and didn't cause much damage to Peng Liyun, I was still full of hope before the battle. But reality taught me a lesson. I tried my best, but Peng Liyun seemed to be at ease. It seemed that no matter how I fought, he could firmly suppress me. If I hadn't risked using the variant severe warning at the end, I'm afraid I wouldn't have seen his strongest side. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. The truth is crueler. That's why I was so upset and depressed and easily angry at others' bad comments. Now that I think about it, I was a little too arrogant. Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled as she listened to Lu Cheng's analysis of her inner thoughts. Isn't it said that men don't want to expose their embarrassing failures in front of girls? Yes, the so-called pride and self-esteem of men. Cheng, why are you telling me this? Lu Cheng chuckled. Because you are Coach Yen, the mentor of my life. It's good that you remember. Yanjika immediately beamed with joy and deliberately said in an old-fashioned tone, Then what do you think now? What made her the happiest was that Cheng seemed to have walked out of the shadow of failure. Thoughts? Yes, recognize the gap and catch up. I have a small goal. I want to defeat Shanbei before Peng Liyun graduates. Without waiting for Yanjika's answer, he suddenly added, I heard that Peng Liyun doesn't like to take the stairs through the front door. Instead, he habitually jumps out of the window. Is that true? Yanjika was startled and blurted out, What do you want? Based on his understanding of Cheng, he wouldn't mention this for no reason. Lu Cheng looked down at the frightening scene and said with a smile, I want to try. Do you want to join me? Although Yanjika wasn't afraid of heights, she didn't want to commit suicide and didn't have a hobby of jumping off a building. Looking at the ground far away and the scene that could make a person with acrophobia weak in the knees, she reflexively opened her mouth to refuse. At this moment, Lu Cheng turned to look at her and smiled calmly. Trust me. Hearing this, Yanjika gently bit her pink lips and nodded, saying, Yes. Yes. As soon as she finished speaking, she felt herself being pulled over by Lu Cheng and carried in a princess carry, with one hand holding the crook of her leg and the other holding her back. Why this position? Yanjika was so shy that she hit Lu Cheng. This was the first time she was carried in a princess carry. No, how could he carry her in a princess carry at this time? Lu Cheng chuckled and answered, If the situation goes wrong, this position makes it easier for me to throw you out. No matter what, he couldn't let his little fairy get hurt. While Yanjika was still thinking about this sentence, she suddenly found Lu Cheng jumping forward. She suddenly felt the wind in her ears become fierce. Her body fell rapidly and her hair was flying wildly. The ground was getting closer and closer, bigger and bigger. Yanjika, who was used to being rational, felt her hair stand on end. She instinctively wanted to scream, as if she had heard the knock of the Grim Reaper on the door. Was this the excitement of bungee jumping? But now it was even more terrible than bungee jumping. There was no rope around her waist. Was this the feeling between life and death? She subconsciously hugged Lu Cheng tightly and leaned her face against the place that made her feel safe. When they were about to hit the ground, Lu Cheng suddenly condensed his chi and blood, force and spirit, hugging and releasing. His body seemed to expand, changing the friction with the air and gliding forward in a small arc bang. He stepped on the ground and the ground seemed to shake. Straightening his back and transmitting the force, Lu Cheng carried Yanjika in a princess carry and took a big step forward, as light as a feather. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. He completely neutralized all the force of the recoil and didn't let the girl feel uncomfortable at all. Done. Yanjika's long eyelashes fluttered and looked around. She actually didn't close her eyes just now and just looked straight at the ground. Coach Yen, we landed safely. With this jump, Lu Cheng vented all his negative emotions and gave a humorous answer in an excited tone. Yanjika laughed and struggled to stand up straight. She kept tidying her long hair with both hands and looked around with bright eyes. Her cheeks were flushed with excitement, like a child who played an interesting game. Was it fun? Was it exciting? Lu Cheng asked cheerfully. Yes. Yanjika nodded hard and admitted honestly. She was always led by Cheng to do bad things. Suddenly, she remembered something and raised her eyebrows. You still have internal injuries. How can you jump just like that? Aren't you afraid of adding more injuries to your injuries? I'm fine, aren't I? Lu Qing moved his body to show that he was fine and then said with a smile, I'm young, so I have to be frivolous. Humph, it's not me who is injured anyway. Xianxia knew that her boyfriend mainly wanted to vent. Seeing that he was fine, she didn't say more. But Lu Qing was still excited. He turned around and squatted down. Come, I'll carry you. I'm not tired. My feet are not sore. Xianxia answered with a confused face. What's the matter? What reason does a boyfriend need to carry his girlfriend? Lu Qing smiled and didn't change his posture. Xianxia's eyes moved. She pursed her lips and turned her head, secretly spitting. But she walked briskly to him and bent down. Lu Qing carried the girl on his back and strolled on the edge of the deserted western district. He listened to her softly humming a melodious song and chatted with her from time to time. Actually, my brother is more affected than you. I think so too. But he doesn't need or want sympathy or comfort. That's Lin Quebec. I believe he can eventually catch up. Laggards may not always be laggards. Are you encouraging me in a disguised way? If you say so, then so be it. You can talk all you want, but can you not always blow into my ear? So what if I blow into your ear? You even kissed me. You can kiss me too. I don't mind. Rogue. The moonlight was gentle and the barren land was beautiful. The next morning, despite his internal injuries, Lu Qing woke up early as usual. He went to the Weishui Lake and started practicing the swordsman formula in the cool breeze. Relying on his inner vision state and the dance stage martial artist's ability to control minute details, he repaired the disharmony in his body little by little. Xianxia stood beside him with his arms folded. He said casually, the swordsman formula has a good healing effect. I'll teach you the healing skills of the ice sect when I have time. How long do you think it will take for you to fully recover? 11 or 12 days if there's no fierce battle. Lu Qing said with a little guilty. He was young and frivolous last night and jumped off the building. Otherwise he would have recovered in less than 10 days. Since he could use inner vision, he could accurately judge the recovery of his injuries. Xianxia snorted. You took longer than me. Can you fight in the next round? Yes. It'll be stable in 7 days. It won't worsen the injury if it's not a fight like the last one. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. Although he could only use 70 to 80% of his strength, it was enough to teach those who wanted to take advantage of him a lesson. After the morning exercise, it was still the special training as usual. But Xianxia didn't watch quietly as usual. He only gave a few pointers and corrected them. Instead, he stood in front of the team, looked around, and said with a smile, I had something to say when I saw you guys like frosted eggplants yesterday. But after thinking about it, I think it's better to give you guys a night to experience it. It'll leave a deep impression. Seeing that Lu Qing and Li Mao were a little ashamed, Xianxia waved his hand and said, It's normal to feel pain, sadness, and unhappiness after losing an important match. It's not a sign of weakness. It only shows that you care, that you still have the desire and drive. Those who can recover immediately after losing a battle, calm down immediately, and laugh immediately are not mature but numb. They don't care enough. They are numb to failure, numb to martial arts, and lose enthusiasm for winning or losing. They don't care enough. I don't dare to say about other professions, but on the path of martial arts, such warriors often lose the desire and drive to move forward. They are willing to accept failure, compromise, and surrender in front of the strong. You guys are not bad. You didn't feel that Shanbei was just a formality. Look at Dragon King. No matter what the reason is, as long as he loses an important battle, he is really unapproachable. His face is so black that it can drip water. But he's good at turning this pain into fuel to move forward. You guys should learn from him. Don't always be depressed and get stuck in it. Lu Qing and the others nodded repeatedly. They were all enlightened. At this time, Xianxia said with a serious expression, Were you sad yesterday? Yes. Lu Qing and the others were stunned for a while before answering in unison. Were you in pain? Xianxia asked again. Yes. Lin Ke hesitated and followed the others. Hearing this, Xianxia suddenly laughed and scolded, Since you know how to be sad and feel pain, why don't you all go back to practice hard? Yes. The morale of Lu Qing and the others was lifted again. Seeing that they began to practice and heal, Xianxia smiled and took out the flagon to drink. What was it called in the words of the young people?